over the years, which is that although there are difficulties with being the heir or the heir to the heir, and your life is sort of fixed and you have no control over your own destiny, for the spare, and that very telling word that was used in his memoir, for the spare, although in a sense your destiny is not quite as tightly defined, it still is, and it's worse than that because you don't really have a destiny. You're in the kind of wake of someone with a destiny. Now, there might be some people who have the personality types for that and fit in with that reasonably well. Princess Anne might be a good example, but the history of the royal family, frankly, is littered with a list of spares who are dispossessed and the never possessed, who lead, frankly, sad lives. Princess Margaret being a good example of it. You can make an argument, say Harry, Andrew. And there must be, not making any particular excuses in particular, obviously, for Andrew, but there must be, for all of these people, there must be a deep listlessness to being so close to having such purpose and a form of power, and being told your entire life that actually you need to step a couple of paces behind and you're not as important, and that's just the system. And I can imagine that must be, trying to find purpose in that system, trying to find something to do with your life where you're close to being something and yet you're not really anything. Must be very peculiar.
Well, Prince Philip, the late Prince Philip, had an answer for that. I am reliably assured that he did give this advice to the real Princess Diana, but I have, with great timing, just rewatched the entire series of The Crown.
Oh, yeah.
On Netflix.
It's all go at Shea Fogarty over in the dog days of summer.
I can't go out. I got burned to death. Yeah. So I've been watching Netflix's 6 series it was of The Crown. But there's a moment in Sandringham where Diana's all, speaking of listless, she's depressed, she wants out. And Philip, who was always fond of her, reportedly said to her, look, this system is what it is. I feel your pain. I've been where you are. I've been where you are. But the system is as follows. Every one of us rotates around the star.
We are finished.
The star being Her Majesty at that point. And he said to Diana, you are making the grave mistake of thinking someone else is the star.
Yes, and I
can say that about Harry and Meghan.
And I can understand that. But of course, for Philip and Diana, although Diana was very young, they did elect to join the firm, right? Harry didn't.
No.
Princess Margaret didn't. They were born into the position that they have. And this is one of the reasons why, I'm not saying I'm a Republican. I am, in theory, I would also be more comfortable as well with a more sort of Scandinavian Dutch style, trimmed down family, where you just have the monarch and you have the crown prince, and the rest of them are allowed to continue with their lives and go and live as a reasonably ordinary life.
Like the Spanish family now.
The Spanish royal family are another good example of that. I think the problem is, and look, I think what's really tragic in a sense about sort of Harry and Margaret and all of those is that actually on another level, I'm not sure they even want to do that. In one sense, is that they're conditioned and bred to really,
to want to be in the centre of things.
And they can't quite imagine truly stepping out. And this is the tragedy of Harry in a sense, it seems to me, is that he sort of had these ideas and yearnings to kind of step out, and yet he can't really. He's still drawn back to the whole thing. Being a royal, that duty, all of that sort of thing is sort of in him.
And even his ideas, and that they're not bad ideas, but they're still very based on what royals do.
Well, I remember I did watch the documentary that they both did again for Netflix. I'll go back to the
research
purposes, of course, yeah. And there was a bit that I thought was extremely telling. Most of it was kind of nonsense and sort of self-isolation, but there was a very telling bit that where Meghan was describing the first time that she bowed to the Queen, and she was sort of making fun of it, really.
It was excruciating.
And they shot a tight shot of Harry's face, and he looked kind of quietly aghast. He looked embarrassed, and that's because, of course, Harry, this has been his life, right? His life has been bowing to his own grandmother in that entire time. And of course, I can understand, I would have Meghan's view. I would think it was kind of ridiculous and absurd and a bit stupid, but that has been his life, and that sort of clash, you can see, that's what I mean. It's in him, all of this stuff.
Oddly enough, that is the moment from that series that just I can barely watch it. It's so excruciating, that moment. And again, if you transpose it to a normal family, it would be like going to your in-laws for Christmas and saying in front of all of them something about the way they operated as a family was comically ridiculous.
And the thing that I'm sort of surprised about them coming back, in a sense, is that she clearly experienced had such a negative experience of being in Britain and about the British press. And they've clearly been basically in kind of isolation, really, from all of that in California for all of these years. So his desire to return home must be extremely strong in order for her, I suspect, to sort of put herself through that again. Because inevitably, I mean, whatever one thinks about her, and she divides opinion, I don't have a particularly strong opinion about her one way or the other, but inevitably, by being in Britain and by being close to it, she'll be far more exposed to it. And I think there's no doubt that she was treated, whatever, I'm sure she has personal failings like we all do, but she was treated in a very different way by comparison to other members of the royal family.
As they say where I come from, she loves it.
She loves him.
She loves him.
She loves him. She absolutely
loves him.
She just can't get enough of him.
249.
LBC This Morning on Nick Ferrari at Breakfast.
The government booklet from the Home Office telling asylum seekers not to beat up women when they're in this country. What does it tell you about the supposed border force checking of these people that they get in? Let's get straight to your reaction.
This is just bull. So they understandable. They can also be victims themselves. 3 women a week are killed by their partners, by English people. Quite frankly, all men should be given this booklet.
We don't need men from anywhere else coming into this country who can perpetrate the same violence against women. We have enough to deal with.
Violence doesn't go both ways.
Back tomorrow morning from 7. Listen on our free Global Player app or the LBC app.
When you're smiling, banning dental group clinics with over 5,000
Why are we now trying to make out like
reviews.
all of the
Keep on
violence is
smiling.
one-sided?
Brands
Violence
that
should
use
be
radio are 49% more
table
likely to
for
get
the word
noticed.
go. Doesn't matter if you're male, female,
radiocentre.org.
or you're associated with a bloody dinner set.
Noticed.
How does a $20 golf gadget end
Doesn't
up being
matter,
used
violence
as a
is
bomb
a
detector
no-no. The second
in
you
war
raise your
zones
fist, you've
worldwide?
lost a disagreement.
I'm Alice
It's that
Levine,
simple.
and this is Explosive Lies, the podcast exposing a scam that fooled governments and security services across the globe. Open our free Global Player app and search Explosive Lies to start listening today.
Gold Bank London, a safe and sound way to buy and sell gold.
Start your journey.
I do love me old MP too.
Visit goldbank.co.uk.
Getting your dog or cat to the vet isn't always easy. But with pet insurance from Pets in a Pickle, you can have non-urgent consultations from home. Take out any policy with Pets in a Pickle, and you'll get unlimited video calls with experienced vets 24/7 through First Vet.
I'd be a
Much
terrifying
easier for
truck
you
driver.
and your pets. For pet insurance policies as unique
That's
as they are, visit petsinnapickle.co.uk.
Shine Night Walk London is a 10k
Zero drop
half
frames
marathon or
are
full
like-
marathon supported walk around the city at night on the 19th of September to raise vital money for Cancer Research UK. It's also
everyone walking with all their colours, twinkling away. We can actually see how nice London is. And London is different at night time. Celebration of life, and it gives hope.
Step towards a brighter future at shinewalk.org today to get 30% off your entry. Together, we are beating cancer. T's and C's apply.
Get the whole package with Octopus Energy EV. The car, the charger and the energy. Octopus Energy EV. Rated excellent on Trustpilot from over 5,000
I actually have the
reviews.
live chat on
Serious
today.
about the right
Didn't
vitamins
realise
for you
I
and
had
your
a
family?
specific
Trust
chat on
Vitibiotics,
yesterday.
the UK's number
Kinda
one vitamin
stupidly
company
new
for
to the
expert
whole
nutritional
streaming
care for every age and lifestyle. Vitamins for everyone, including
So
well
this should
man,
be
well
interesting.
woman, well baby, and well kid. From Boots, pharmacies, and Vitibiotics.com. For number one verification, see Vitibiotics.com.
Ready for a new kitchen? Wix Kitchen Experts can support you with clever designs and a professional installation. Book your free kitchen design appointment at Wix. Sheila Fogarty on LBC. Listen on your smart speaker. Just say, play LBC.
We'll talk about that Lindsay Clancy trial in the US after 3, but let me get to your calls before then. Josephine in Westminster, hi.
Hi, Sheila. So I think you were probably correct earlier when you said that they're quite status obsessed. And I think they've tried their luck in the States, and now their Netflix deal, I think, has fallen through, or their Spotify. They were referred to as grifters by the head of Spotify.
It's ended, hasn't it? Yeah, it's not, and the series isn't being renewed either.
exactly that. And he's written his memoir, and I'm not quite sure how he's going to follow up on that realistically. And her kind of venture doesn't really seem to be thriving. I mean, they say that it's profitable, but I think anyone who's tried to start a business in the current economic climate, even with the clout of the royal family, I think that's quite a difficult thing to achieve.
It's worth remembering she hasn't written her book yet, isn't it?
Exactly.
If indeed she plans to, she might not.
Yeah, I think that would be quite contentious now that they're moving back to the UK. So I think that they've tried their luck in the States, and it hasn't really worked out for them that well. And they clearly haven't made it into the kind of Hollywood power couple set, which is perhaps what they had imagined. I'm not sure. They don't seem to be the most realistic of people. And so I think they did move there imagining a very different life to the one that they've ended up with. And now he has to pay huge damages for the trial that he's just lost.
Yeah.
And in terms of being kind of one of the most wealthy people out there, they really won't be even close to the most wealthy, probably 100, even 1,000 people living in that area in California.
Yeah. And I think, I also think friends reportedly say that Harry wants to almost have the life his mother was thinking of having in America. But the difference between Harry and Meghan and Diana is, amongst other things, of course, is star wattage. She was a megastar. In or out of the royal family, she was an absolute megastar. And she would have continued to be if she'd moved to America or anywhere else.
Charming, and she had that absolute people kind of...
Diana seemed like a really decent human being.
Exactly that. And he doesn't have that, and Meghan.
I mean, I was small when she passed.
And I think that. So I think I wish them well. I also having my own personal experience,
which isn't a lot.
LA in
she seemed hell-bent sure on just trying to change the world and be the good that she wanted to see in the world.
This life is amazing, and it is amazing for a few years. You know,
although I respect Harry,
the weather is beautiful.
He did go to war. Okay, probably didn't do too much because, you know, he's a royal.
As a Brit, you do miss home. And so I think that there probably is a large part of him that really does miss,
which is a damn sight more than a lot of people expected him to do.
Well, I mean, just on a human level, you have to, don't you?
Well, I agree with you, but not everybody does. Wish them well. Thank you very much, Josephine. Judy in Colchester, hi.
Hello, Sheila. I was so surprised this morning when I heard this news. I think it probably surprised a lot of people. I concur with the previous caller on quite a few issues, but I just think there are two small children in this who have spent most of their little lives in America. And so they are going to be moved over here, which will be totally and utterly different to what they've been used to. And I wonder, you know, as little ones, how they are going to adjust to it, because, you know, I don't know what school they're going to go to. I assume it'll be a private school. I don't know. But I think it will be difficult for them. And I also think that because of the press coverage that is going to come with this, because all cameras are going to want to be put on their every move, and I do think one of your callers said he thought perhaps it was because Charles's health, but I would have thought the other way myself, that it would be very much a cause of concern for him if all the upheaval and all the bad things and all the things that have been said in the past are all brought up again.
The thing is, though, Judy, and I know it's on a different scale because of the focus on the royals, but have you ever had a dispute or a fallout with a family member or a close friend? Because I certainly have. Now, I haven't had feuds or anything, but actually, in every instance, I have been desperate to fix it. You know, once the initial pain subsides,
I thought it was me. It isn't. It's the lady who's phoning in is breathing.
I've been desperate to fix it. And I can't speak for either of them, but
I don't think I've got a photo of this yet.
If your son or brother or sister or whoever, your child, came and said, I want to come home, or I want to see you more, and I'm sorry, or I understand I've hurt people, or how could you say, nah, forget it?
Well, it depends on what those circumstances were, Sheila. And believe you me, for some people, they go very deep, and it is not possible. It is not possible to do that, to keep your whatever life you've got after such upheaval.
Yeah, and
established.
I suppose hurting you is one thing, but hurting your wife, your husband, somebody else is another thing, isn't it? That you would feel.
Yeah, it's a huge issue. It really is.
Nice
and
sympathy.
I can't imagine what way it's going to go, Sheila. I think I really can't. It's going to be the talk of everything for the time being, isn't it? And
it depends. I mean, when they were here last time around, there was a lot of, public attention on them. But I remember having a conversation when the Duchess was pregnant. I remember having a conversation with a man on the phones who said, she wants to be in the papers every day, she's this, she's that, she's the other. And I said, actually, we've barely seen the Duchess in the latter parts of her pregnancy. We've barely seen her for months, actually.
I think everyone's got to remember that they are still human at the end of it.
The front of the Telegraph,
they have feelings and they deserve an ounce of privacy.
That doesn't mean she's out and about doing something.
Perhaps they've decided to come back to see family and they're trying to bury the hatchet.
Or try to do here what they've been doing.
Who knows?
In the States. Very
and honestly,
press, though,
if they don't wish to talk about it, I don't think they should be made to.
What they'll find.
Obviously, I don't think that they will be made to, but
that's for sure. I wish them all well. Thanks for your calls on this. Coming up after the news at 3, we're going to talk about this Lindsay Clancy.
There's usually only about 1% of truth in everything that's printed in a paper anyway.
Call if you are.
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 3 o'clock, the Prime Minister says security for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex is a private matter. The couple will return this month to the UK with their 2 children. Prince Harry lost a court case over state-sponsored bodyguards last year. Di Davis is a former Royal Protection Officer.
If they continue with their high-profile media, then keeping them safe again from either terrorism or fixated individuals raises the pressure quite considerably. The only advice I can give is keep a much lower profile than you have so far.
The Prime Minister is defending a new government booklet warning people seeking asylum that rape and domestic abuse are serious crimes. Andy Burnham says it's right to make our societal norms and laws explicitly clear. As teenagers in England, Wales and Northern Ireland get their GCSE results, there's a call for reform to compulsory resits for English and maths. Analysis suggests more than 350,000 current 16-year-olds will need to take resits next year. The head of exams regulator Ofqual says a planned new stepping stone qualification would end the cycle of demoralising retests and open doors for them. Maths teacher and broadcaster Bobby Seagulls told Sheila he's concerned about the number of students not passing resits, particularly in maths.
There is like a hidden tax that's almost called an innumeracy tax, where young people become adults, they struggle understanding their mortgages or their student loans or car rentals. And this has a real toll on everyday citizens, and it impacts ultimately the nation's finances.
The safety of a tanker crew is unknown after a reported hijacking off the coast of Yemen. Authorities say it seems 6 gunmen boarded the ship earlier and diverted it towards Somalia. We now know a rail line in Sussex will reopen on September the 1st after last week's derailment. 30 people were injured between Lewis and Haywards Heath. The derailed carriages are being lifted away today. And a man phoning police to complain his gin and tonic was non-alcoholic has been highlighted as an example of when not to call 999.
It's 0 alcohol. He says you've already drank one, and I says okay, I'll pay for that one, but can I exchange the other? Keep left. It cost me £6.
The Hertfordshire Force, who released the recording, also had a call about a broken microwave timer. In the city, a short time ago, the FTSE 100 was trading down 24 points at 10,719.
That's got to be a wind-up, right?
$1.36 and €1.
Who rings the police over a broken microwave
frequent
timer?
Heavy showers easing off through the afternoon to leave sunny spells. Feeling cooler, highs of 12 to 22
How self-indulged you have to be to think that's an emergency. I think they should release all of these stupid ones. Just release it out into the wild. Let everyone know who the stupid people are. Make an example out of them, and hopefully it will stop everyone in their tracks from making false
Hello there, good afternoon to you. I want to talk about the trial of Lindsay Clancy that I know many of you are very aware of. It's getting a huge following. It's an American trial, a first-degree murder trial. It's now entered its fourth week, so we're at a really significant point in the case because the prosecution has finished presenting its evidence and the defence for the last few days has been making its case. If you're not familiar with the trial, let me fill you in a bit. Lindsay Clancy is accused of killing her three children, 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan, at the family home in Duxbury in Massachusetts back in January of 2023. She is alleged to have then jumped from a window in an apparent suicide attempt after killing her children and has been left paralysed by that. There is no dispute at this stage that Lindsay Clancy killed the children. The entire case turns on why she did it and whether she was criminally responsible for what she did. Now, the defence says that she was suffering from severe postpartum psychosis, postpartum being the time just after delivery, postpartum psychosis,
okay,
and
so
bipolar
she's ill.
disorder.
I get that.
And that
What
her
I don't
mental
get is
state
how that
had
allows her the freedom to go
in the
and do
months
what she
before
did.
the killings. The prosecution, meanwhile, has argued that there was planning and deliberate behaviour and that she understood what she was doing. Now, over the first 3 weeks, jurors have heard evidence about her medication, her internet searches, her Apple Watch data, her own behaviour in the period leading up to the killings. The prosecution has also questioned whether some of her actions were consistent with someone who was completely detached from reality. Here is Patrick Clancy, her then-husband, or the then-husband, he was her husband at the time of the killings, and the father of the children. This was him speaking in the past couple of weeks of trial.
What kind of a mother was she?
She was very dedicated. She did everything. She started reading them books at 3 months, and she made up songs for them. I remember she used to make green eggs and ham for Cora because she liked that book.
Did she describe to you some thoughts or feelings that she was having at that time?
Yeah, she started to say she was suicidal.
And was that in December of 2022?
I think so, yeah.
And when she told you she was suicidal, did you ask her if she had a plan on how to kill herself?
Yes.
And what was her response?
She said no. She described thoughts of hurting the kids or them having some sort of ailment.
But going back to that first part, she said she had thoughts of harming the kids. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, here's the forensic psychologist,
So she
Dr.
needed
Paul
support.
Ziesel, who treated Lindsay Clancy.
Did she get the
This is him
support?
speaking this
Clearly
week.
not.
She told Patrick that she loved him very much. She was unable to express a lot of emotion, but she expressed love for him. And she had said that she heard a male voice ordering her, telling her that she didn't have any choice, but she had to kill her children and then kill herself.
I remember that would have been while she was allegedly experiencing a psychotic episode. Lindsay Clancy's defence attorney, Kevin Reddington, was speaking to journalists as he was coming into the courtroom in the past couple of hours.
I think that it's the mental health system. I hate to use the word health care because unfortunately in this case we can see it hasn't been health care, and I think that it shines a light on this issue. I mean, when a woman is going through what so many people do and they go to a doctor and the doctor says, you know, here, take this pill, take that pill, take this pill, and then they basically treat them for 15, 20 minutes and send them on their way. It's just not right.
Well, at the heart of this trial is this. Was Lindsay Clancy a mother suffering an extreme psychiatric episode who could not understand what she was doing? Or was she criminally responsible for 3 deliberate, premeditated killings of her small children? I think one fascinating element to this trial is that, unlike what we see in this country, it is live streamed every day. It's gained worldwide attraction in certain subgenres of social media. I've certainly been watching it a lot on social media. One in particular being on TikTok amongst young women viewers worldwide. Conspiracies and conversation around the trial are being thrown left, right and centre about the detail of the trial and about her potential guilt or not, and whether the killer is in fact her husband.
Question is, are we finding out Lindsay is innocent at the same time that she is? Or has she known that she's innocent this whole time? Because I didn't know, but I now I know that she obviously didn't do this.
Well, that's an individual's definitive response. I've seen lots of women in particular, on social media, on Instagram and TikTok, literally almost jokingly saying, right, I'm supposed to be going to work or I'm supposed to be doing this, but I'm actually living as though I'm a juror in this trial and I'm not going anywhere for the rest of the day. And they're following it in absolute detail and then together in groups discussing it. And I'm not quite that involved in it, but I'm certainly watching a lot of the content and the clips after the live streaming. And I wonder whether you are, for a start, and why women are so interested in not just true crime generally, and particularly crimes against women and children, but in this case in particular, in the Lindsay Clancy case in particular. I'll tell you in a minute why I am, but what I think it's illustrating and the questions it throws up, but why do you think women are so interested in it, and in this case in particular? 0345 6060 973, the number to call. You can text 84850. With me to talk more about this is Elise Hershon, a criminal defence lawyer in Boston, Massachusetts, the state where this crime took place and where the trial is taking place. Good afternoon to you, Elise. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Good morning, Kieran. Good afternoon to you.
Now, I know that the government said this is not a trial about mental health, it's a trial about murder. But it can't help but be a trial about mental health as well, can it? Particularly maternal mental health.
I think it absolutely is. I think the government doesn't want it to be about mental health because there's so much support for it. There's so many people suffering from it, if not directly a family member, a colleague, a close friend. Everybody, I think, can relate to the struggles that it is to advocate, at least in this country, for proper care, for battling with the insurance. A lot of issues in the healthcare system that we have, and mental health particularly, and for women, especially postpartum. There's a lot of silent struggling that happens. There's a lot of pressure to, be a mother and to do it perfectly and to do it well and not admit that you're struggling. So this trial really has ignited some strong feelings in, the court of public opinion, we call it, and people watching, because they feel the same sort of dismissive type feelings they get from healthcare workers that think either they're making it up or they're exaggerating.
While driving just throws my head.
It reminds me, it's very different in nature, but it reminds me, or the moment reminds me of the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp hearings, the OJ hearings, and that connection that people had to those cases and the latching onto particular views and discussing it endlessly on social media and the like. Why do you think women in particular have tapped into this trial?
I think that it's been more than people have expected. This morning, actually in court, just organically, before court started, there were 300, maybe 500 women showing up for a silent rally or a silent group of support, all wearing pink, some of them bringing their children in support of Lindsay Clancy, in support of mothers and people who are struggling postpartum. That is so powerful to see.
Wow.
Certainly it's
I had no idea the American side of mental health was so
either party as part of the case. Something that
20-minute appointment and then they send you away with pills.
Today. So I think they're actually questioning each juror to make sure that they can still remain impartial.
Don't they do CBT,
seeing this
cognitive behavioural therapy and things like that?
For somebody who suffers and is suffering from mental illness, but is also on trial for triple murder for children.
And
maybe one of my watchers.
What I have found interesting is
maybe they can tell me at some point.
Every single day, just because I'm busy doing my own things as well. But I've watched a lot of content about the trial and clips from the trial, and I've now reached a point. This is why I find it interesting that so many members of the public are seeing this essentially on television or in social media clips, because you do get, or the danger is you end up getting a kind of algorithm version of the events. And for example, I've only discovered from social media that her husband was having an affair shortly after the killings, went on holiday with his lover. On that holiday, was sending reviews of the hike he'd just been on and how much fun it had been. And that begs questions, surely, about the state of his mind and heart, really, doesn't it?
We call that reasonable doubt here. We say allegedly because it hasn't come in as evidence in the trial, and certainly things that go on the internet, especially with artificial intelligence, what is real and what isn't.
Might not be true, yeah.
But we do know that he is remarried and he has moved to New York, and he has moved on or attempted to move on with his life. So the important part here and the interesting part about this case is usually you're going either for a guilty or a not guilty. The prosecution, we call it the Commonwealth, certainly influenced from the UK, but the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the government here, and they're prosecuting her for first-degree murder, Lindsay Clancy, for strangling her 3 young children, all under the age of 5, with exercise bans, a very horrific, suffering way to die, and then attempting her own suicide by slitting her wrist and throat, crushing up some medication, and throwing herself out the window. She's now in a wheelchair, confined for life. She had a thoracic spinal cord injury and is just paralyzed from chest down. So visually, it's a shocking trial for a lot of reasons. The defendant is not some appearing stone cold killer like the prosecution is trying to paint her as with their testimony. Every witness that has testified, both the prosecution and the defense, has said she was a loving mother. She loved her children. She loved other people's children. She was a labor and delivery nurse. She cried when strangers delivered their babies. I mean, this is a woman who was a great mother.
Well, I was watching a clip this morning of her defense lawyer reading out excerpts from her diary in the early days of the youngest baby's life, the youngest child's life, and she was clearly struggling with the pressure and stress of early motherhood, and she was laying a lot of guilt on herself about not breastfeeding, saying that he was becoming unwell more frequently because he had 2 older but still very young kids who were bringing germs into the house, so he was a sick baby all the time, and that made him cry and cry and cry and cry, and that was very difficult for her. And you could hear in the detail of the diary a woman under pressure. But what was interesting was her own mother-in-law, when questioned, said, her mother-in-law, on paper anyway, would have every reason in the world to loathe this woman. And quite the opposite. She said she was a fabulous mother. She was definitely under pressure. She reached out for help when she was under pressure. She wasn't pretending. She was asking for help. She was saying what she was going through, which leads to that argument by the defense that she was badly let down.
Absolutely. The mother-in-law and her now ex-husband, who's remarried, was also on the stand and, supporting her. And right, even after it happened, she's not a murderer. She's not a monster. She's suffering from mental illness, So people that have every right, like you said, to be upset that their lives were, especially the ex-husband, whose lives were completely upended and lost, essentially his wife and now his children, are still saying that no, she was actually suffering from mental illness. This is real, and this was not her. So in the U.S. and here, the prosecution needs to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that someone's presumed innocent, and they need to be proven otherwise. And in this, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, has it been outlined in court? Because I can't remember whether it was outlined in court or whether it's just on social media. Has it been outlined in court that the only fingerprints on those exercise bands that were used to commit the crimes were the husband's fingerprints?
So I think it was the DNA expert, and I think that's sort of when the Patrick did it, sort of conspiracy theories online really took off. It's not that dispositive in this case because they all live together. So whether his DNA were on what is a normal sort of everyday item that was used, to end her children's lives.
But hers were not. Hers were not.
So it is an interesting thing, and I think during the closing that will certainly be wrapped up it'll be pointed out by the defense attorney. But it actually relates to the point I was about to make, which is the defense is not going for a complete acquittal here. They're not going for find her not guilty, she didn't do this, and normally would welcome, well, it could have been this person. We call it a third-party culprit. That could have been the husband, could have been, without saying it could have been the husband.
They're not going for that.
No. They're not going for that. I think that came out in the trial, and it became such a bigger focus for the court of public opinion. The jury's not supposed to look at social media. It seems almost unavoidable. It's everywhere you go. People are talking about it on the street.
Yeah.
But what I was just going to say that the prosecution has to actually disprove that she was suffering from mental illness so much that it overcame her ability for intentional murder. So the defense doesn't have to put on a case. They are. The defense doesn't have to present evidence. They have. The prosecution needs to prove not only murder, but that she was not severely mentally ill and in psychosis, and I don't think they've done that.
You talked about the intense interest. What's the feeling like in America? I mentioned those two previous trials, but what's in terms of scale? How much is it dominating? Water cooler conversation, as they say.
Everywhere. It's everywhere. I've done a lot of coverage, local and our national networks here. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I know, this courthouse, and I know I'm very entrenched in where it's happening. And it's just a little bit south of Boston. And I can't go anywhere without either overhearing a conversation that has nothing to do with me, in Starbucks or, certainly in court, but on the weekends, out at the gym. Everyone's talking about it. I have friends that are at the gym, and they actually see me talking on the news about this case, and it's just the case coverage is everywhere. And people are talking about it, and in a much more positive way, I think, than anyone anticipated with regards to the sympathizing with Lindsay Clancy's suffering. And that, I think, is also a reaction to the prosecution going after her in a very harsh way, right in the beginning, villainizing her and saying, well, she didn't tell her providers all of her symptoms. She didn't talk to all of them about the voices. So she must be making it up, as if to say she was capable of feeding her children breakfast and taking her daughter to the doctor the day that she did this. So because she's capable, she can't be struggling. And if a woman is silent, that means nothing is wrong. So those messages, I think, very powerfully hit a lot of women, and they're speaking out about it.
Of course they hit a lot of women, those messages, without a doubt. I read here, just before I leave you, Elisa, I read here that there are currently, just really moments after the trial resumed today, 60,000 people already watching it on YouTube. So that live streaming in minutes, and then that gathers during the day as well, doesn't it? Thank you very much indeed for outlining the impact of it, both in America and online, Elise Hershon. I know that the subject here is very difficult, particularly the death of those 3 little children, of course, and the suffering of the mother as well, which is evident, and it's evident not just in trial, but it's evident in the medical paperwork as well. If any of this is proving difficult for you and you want to talk to somebody about it, because I know postpartum period of life can be very difficult indeed, even if it's not this extreme, then the Samaritan's number is 116 123. That's free 24/7. 116 123. Drop more in a sec. It's 3:21.
This is LBC.
What you're hearing is real. The aliens have landed and they have something to say.
Take us to your dealer. Just 0.9% APR on every new Mini.
They just want to go to a mini retailer.
Mini.
You heard them. Off we go.
Make contact at your nearest retailer and get 0.9% APR representative across the entire range with a 25% deposit and 24-month term. Mini UK is a credit broker. Order by 30th September, delivered by 31st December. PCP with Mini Financial Services. Subject to status. T's and C's apply. mini.co.uk/offers.
From the first time they lose a
baby tooth. Look, Mom.
To the countless times they forget to mention them.
Ingredients for food tech tomorrow.
To the last time you hear that school was...
right.
Kids grow up fast. Luckily at Tesco we have back-to-school uniform that grows with them, including everything they need like trousers and skirts with adjustable hems and waists. So you can focus less on the cost and more on all this.
Keep left, then turn
Tesco,
left.
every little helps. Available in the majority of larger stores and online.
Oh, yet another meeting that could have been an email. 30 minutes in and Sarah from HR asks, can we just circle back to slide 1 again? No, Sarah, we cannot circle back to slide 1. Some of us have things to do.
Can't chill? Maybe you need a Snickers ice cream. With creamy ice cream, crunchy nuts, and gooey caramel. Grab a Snickers ice cream today. Available in most supermarkets near you.
Sheila Fogarty on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
And that's why women in particular are so interested in not just true crime, but this particular case, the Lindsay Clancy case that my guest Elise Hershon was just outlining some of the detail of. I think Marita hits the nail on the head as to why women are interested in this. She says women's instinct, women's gut instinct, women's protection mode, women's investigative skills, women's BS radar. I think that's all part of it for sure. And I'll tell you in a minute why I'm so fascinated by it and what I think is really inherent in it that I think touches every woman, especially women who've given birth. Anita in Marlborough. Hello, Anita.
Hello, lovely Sheila. I don't know. I'm not au fait with this course. The trial going on, and I do love to follow these things, especially online. I know they take up an awful lot of your life. That's the trouble. I did watch the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case online, but I do really enjoy watching. I could fill my every waking moment of watching crime stories.
Real ones or dramas?
No, not the drama so much. The real thing. Because you can't believe that these sorts of things actually happen in the world, but they do because they're real. But for me, in a subconscious way, I've tried to sort of think why I like it so much, but I know a lot of women do. For me, it's kind of subconsciously learning what could be out there, what could happen to you, how to deal with it, and to see it coming possibly before it hits you. And I'm also very interested in different personalities and personality disorders and narcissism and all those sorts of things, because I think the better that you are equipped to what is out there, the chances of survival is slightly better.
I think you're right about, even if it's never going to touch your life, I think you're right about something in us wants to scan what we might be facing. I think you're right there. And you talked about narcissism. Obviously, we can't diagnose anybody involved in this case ourselves. But I find narcissists, whether they're criminal narcissists or not, I find them fascinating. I find them darkly fascinating, but I find them fascinating.
Yeah.
There's something so alien about it.
Well, I think if you can learn about somebody's personality, you can kind of not be one step ahead. You can't always be one step ahead, but you can sit and work out what might be coming down the line. And you can either decide to stay or leave.
You can get the hell out.
Yes, exactly.
And it might not even be a partner. It could be a colleague. It could be an in-law. It could be a friend of a friend. It could be, you don't have to linger in these things, do you, if they're harmful to you?
No, but I have to say, because I learned about it through YouTube watching. I'm no academic. I just love working out how people's minds work and why.
Have you caught up with any of this story?
No,
just today from us. Yeah,
but I'm going to get online later today and have a look.
I think what you've just said to me about why you find it so interesting, I think you would really find this interesting. And one of the things I think is coming out loud and clear. I've already decided, in my wisdom, I do not think this woman should be found guilty of murder at all. I just don't.
The only thing that I can compare to is I have had postnatal depression.
Right.
And I have had depression. And so I can understand how quickly and suddenly your mind can just turn on a switch from being sort of low to really wanting to do something more serious. I can understand that.
When you were postnatally depressed, did you have those thoughts?
No, I never had thoughts of harming myself or my children. I just knew I felt like I was going completely mad. And I left it 7 months before I did anything because I was worried my children were going to be taken away from me.
Oh, gosh. And again, that is so common a fear, isn't it? Understandably, it's a common fear, you know, but...
Well, this was in the late 90s, early 2000s, but even then, you know, if you were on antidepressants, nobody spoke about it. Nobody did. But I've been on antidepressants for 24 years because I just can't cope with life.
They work for you, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can cope with life. You just have something that needs to be dealt with while you do that.
Yeah, just a little bit of help, but I can understand her frame of mind, and I'm so cross that people are vilifying her, because until you walk a mile in somebody's shoes, keep your mouth shut.
Well, I agree, but I also understand why people's instincts might be horror at the killing of the children.
Yes, I understand that.
And it was interesting to hear my guest earlier saying that, Elise Hirschon, saying that the defence isn't attempting to suggest that the husband did it. But when I was watching it first, I was just thinking, God, this poor woman clearly was out of her mind.
I need to catch up. But
you do. But I now think she might not have done it.
Well, if you were ever thinking of ever killing your child, or you hated them, or you weren't connecting with them or bonding with them, why would you read to them at 3 months?
Yeah.
That's the only bit I've heard. You know, you to try and give your child the best chance in life. She must have completely been either psychotic or just, out of her mind.
And I think when even during the prosecution's evidence, some of the prosecution's evidence, it was favourable to the woman. In terms of they couldn't say she was a terrible mother because there was no evidence that she was. When the defence brings, as the defence lawyer said he would, he's going to bring out friends from her junior school, high school, university, early career, and because he knows that they know her, and they're all going to say this woman was a high flyer, a talented young woman who wanted to do well, adored her family, wanted to do that well. She was great. They're all going to say how great she was.
Well, something happened along the way.
Yeah.
Something has happened, and I just don't think there's enough support. The worry is my children will be taken from me. That is the biggest worry. That's why I didn't say anything for 7 months.
Yeah.
It's the longer you leave it, the worse it gets.
Yeah. And I think thank you so much for sharing all of that, Anita, not just your interest in true crime, but your own experience of postnatal depression, because I think that's absolutely vital. I think it is a fool's game by the prosecution or the government to think that this trial isn't about maternal mental health and the mental health medical industry around it as well. I think it's inevitable that it is about that. I'll talk more in a minute after the news headlines on the central thing in it for me that makes me really interested in this trial, and why I really would urge you to get involved in it. The time is 3:30. Let's get some headlines from Matt Hewitt.
Andy Burnham's refused to comment on whether the government will pay for Harry and Meghan's security when they move back to the UK later this month. It's understood the Duke and Duchess will set up home in a non-royal residence outside London. The Prime Minister says it's right that a new government document makes the UK's rules on sex and consent explicitly clear to asylum seekers. But Reform UK have described the leaflet as a scandal, and the Conservatives say anyone needing the information doesn't belong in Britain. And the proportion of GCSE entries being graded at least a 7 or an A has gone up. The gap between girls' and boys' performance has narrowed. The Education Secretary suggests boys, who are lagging behind, need to see the line of sight into a job. LBC weather, frequent heavy showers, easing off through the rest of the day to leave sunny spells. Feeling cooler, highs of 12 to 22 degrees.
Weekdays from 7 a.m.
Can you tell my listeners what is true and what is not?
Straight to the point.
What are we getting in return for the money?
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Work really does not pay.
Listen on our free Global Player app or the LBC app. Download it now from your app store.
There comes a time in your life when you need to make a change, to start a new chapter. It's time to consider a residential park-home bungalow from Ecos Group. Coastal Retreat in Western
very
Supermare
poorly
is a
treated
peaceful
from all
gated
angles.
community for those aged over
They're
45,
expected to teach
set
our
in a
children,
stunning location close to all local amenities.
but they're also
You can
expected to
enjoy
put
it
up with every
stress-free
ounce of
with up to 100%
horrific behaviour from
part exchange on your
everyone,
existing property,
including the
with full
parents,
site
and when
fees
the
for your
parents
first
act
year.
like
Make that
opinionated,
lifestyle
jumped up
change today
little
and join us
so-and-sos,
at our open weekend
the
on
teachers have to
29th
nod,
and 30th
agree
of
and
August
apologise,
at Coastal
which is
Retreat,
wrong.
Crooks Lane, Western Supermare.
They should
or
be
visit
allowed to
ecosgroup.co.uk.
at least have their own mind.
That's ekosgroup.co.uk.
And we don't teach our children in a real world. If you talk to people like crap, they're probably going to treat you in that manner.
Our insurance can be relied on, and that means we reward loyalty.
Maybe it
As a car,
stems
home, farming, or
from
business
softening up society
you get a
too
saving on
much.
your renewal thanks to our mutual bonus.
I don't know.
We do this so you can enjoy
I
the
grew
more
up
important things. No wonder 9 out of 10
fair
customers
mum,
choose to
I think.
renew every
I think
year.
my mum was
For
very fair.
insurance you can rely on. Join NFU Mutual today.
What you're hearing is real.
But if I started swearing at her, she'd wash my mouth out with a bar of soap.
Tickets to your dealer, just 0.9%
Didn't kill me.
APR on every new Mini.
Did teach me
I
there
just
was a
wanna go to
repercussion for
mini
my actions, though.
You heard them. Off we go. Make contact at your
I'm
nearest
grateful.
retailer and get 0.9%
grateful I had my
APR
mum.
representative across the entire range with a 25% deposit and 24-month term. Many UK is a credit broker.
I think
Order by
she
30th
stopped me
September,
from
delivered by 31st
turning
December.
into
PCP with
someone
Mini
that
Financial
I
Services.
really
Subject to
wouldn't be
status.
proud
T's
to
and C's
be.
apply. Mini.co.uk/offers.
Your holiday park home will be a great investment.
You'll lose thousands on your holiday park home.
We'll buy it back whenever.
We'll pay you a fraction of what it's worth. If you bought a home on a holiday park, contact Holiday Park Advice Centre. If you were missold, we can help. Text ADVICE to 78900. Fees apply.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC with Sheila Fogarty. Text 84850.
Well, that trial involving Lindsay Clancy, accused of first-degree murder of her children, has only just started really in the last half an hour or so today, resumed today. Already there are 67,000 people watching it on YouTube. Sheila Kavanagh, who is a chaplain at the women's hospital that Lindsay Clancy stayed in after she allegedly killed her children and attempted to take her own life, has just taken the stand at the trial.
She continued to look like the photograph you just saw. She was covered, tubes everywhere, the neck brace. Her emotional state was very neutral, a flat affect. But I remember vividly the first thing she said to me. Now, she had heard me for a couple of days. We had been praying together. And so when I went in on Tuesday the 31st, she said to me as I held her hand to comfort her, "I am so glad my children are safe."
Was there any other conversation that you had with her?
I replied theologically to Lindsay, and I said, "Lindsay, your children are safe. They're safe in heaven with God." And I held her hand throughout that conversation, and we prayed for them.
Did she make any other statements to you?
She did. She alluded to having heard a voice, and the voice, according to Lindsay, told her that if she did not follow the command, neither she nor her children would be safe.
And did she indicate whether it was a male voice, a female voice, loud, soft?
She alluded to the fact that it was a male voice and it was persistent.
Any further conversation that you recall about that, not about general things?
That came up several times. I visited Lindsay minimally 14 times while she was hospitalized at the Brigham, and the voice conversation came up several times during several of our visits.
That's Sheila Kavanagh, a chaplain at the women's hospital that Lindsay Clancy stayed in shortly after the deaths of her children. I am so glad my children are safe. And again, I can't interpret that, but one interpretation of it is that she concluded her children were unsafe at home, either, again, who knows, from her or from someone else in the home. I don't know. But it's important that these statements, verified by neutral people like Sheila Kavanagh, are heard. And the reason I find, this is why I've sat through lots of trials as a reporter, and the reason I find this trial so gripping is precisely because women are so often not heard when, in all kinds of scenarios, they're either misheard or told they're overstating what's happening to them, or overstating how they feel, or thinking too much. I've been told by men I think too much. Certainly that I talk too much. But I think what's inherent in this trial that's gripping so many people, and certainly gripping me, is how obvious it is that the moral burden and the labour burden, I don't mean the giving birth of labour, I mean the work burden in family life, in caring life, falls too heavily on women. And no wonder some of them go under with the pressure of that. Katie in Muswell Hill. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Sheila. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Have you been watching this?
I have been obsessed with this trial. I'm one of those who love watching like serial documentaries on Netflix, you know, when a new thing comes out. So this stuff interests me, but what I find so interesting is how so many of us are rallying around a woman who has been accused of murdering her kids. You know, normally we would think they're disgusting, you know, they deserve all the harsher sentences. But we're now rallying around her, we are feeling so sorry for her, and then the coin's also flipped in us now thinking it is 100% her husband. And it's just become such a fascinating trial. And I do think maybe later on in history this trial might go down in history as like the TikTok trial or something like that, just because of the way we're all having our own opinions on it. But it's just so interesting, and I think, you know, myself, I'm a new mother, and look, I'm very lucky that I've never gone through postpartum depression, but know many women who have. The extent of what it can do to someone. But I think what's also harder from a mother and even a woman, this woman lost her kids. You know, apparently a few weeks before she was searching, you know, glitter dolls or things to do with my kids this weekend. So it clearly showed someone who adored her kids. She was checking medicine that was right for them.
And in her diary entries, she was chastising herself for not being good enough for them, and worrying about leaving the little one to cry because, you know, sleep training they call it, don't they? Where she felt it might be abusive to leave a child crying and crying. This wasn't a woman who had plans to harm her children.
No, and I mean, and there's all this new stuff is now coming out about it, where, you know, her Apple Watch stopped working. You know, the laptop was downstairs, and he might have been. For me, nothing now makes sense, but I do think every woman, you know, regardless, always goes through things with their kids. You know, I did do the crying out method with my child, and my friends were like, I don't know how you did it. It must be so hard. And it is, and I think everything you do as a woman and as a mother, you question everything you're doing. Is it right for my kids?
And it's judged.
It's judged. Constantly judged. But I think with this trial, yes, what happened to the kids is heartbreaking in so many ways. But I think it's strange in society how we are standing behind her. Yeah, you know, you look at other people who've murdered people in the past who have a mental illness, you know, and we think they are the devil's evil. Yet we don't with this woman.
Yeah, and I think my instinct is she will not be found guilty of first-degree murder.
I agree.
And again, who knows what might come in the future beyond this trial in terms of other people being charged. We just don't know. But I think, it's clear that this defence lawyer, I hear he's come out of retirement, is representing her pro bono because he's so good at these cases, and he believes in her and he believes in the case, and he clearly cares about this woman. It's clear that he has said it, this cannot be a trial that is not about maternal mental health. It is central to what's gone on here. And the husband, even if the husband didn't do anything criminal, this was a woman who was clearly struggling, and he has an affair.
But not only had an affair, he apparently went hiking. You know, he goes hiking, he was doing marathons, he was leaving the house when his wife wasn't okay. You know, if you're you're a loving husband and a loving father, you would want to make your kids are safe and your wife feel supported. Yet apparently, you know, on the Friday night, he was out with friends, he was doing this on the Saturday, and he's not shed one tear, whereas she visibly is
broken. She's broken, yeah. Katie, thank you. I wanted to find time for Sue as well. Sue in Glossop. Hi, Sue.
Hiya, good afternoon. I'm going to make mine short and sweet. I'm appalled by it, absolutely appalled. As a woman and as a midwife, I think us watching on from the UK, you know, you're talking about a lot of people who are we're working in a different women's healthcare system. I know it's not perfect. I know it's not far from perfect, but just looking at it from this perspective, I think it's an absolute indictment of the way they're treating women in America now in general. She should be in a hospital. It is quite clear that she was incredibly sick. I'm not getting into all of the conspiracy, whether it's a conspiracy or not, I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I'm working on the premise that this is a woman on trial and she is being accused of murdering her children, and you know, if that's what happened. It also, the treatment that she had afterwards, was it 13 or 14 different
changes
psychiatric medications in a 6-month period?
Yeah.
It's absolutely, it's clinically negligent to me. I cannot understand how this has made its trial. I cannot understand.
No, and there was a psychiatrist who took the stand today, this week, who was questioned by the defence, who admitted she'd never met her in person.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fantastic, but unfortunately, it's the way things are often done these days. But just
please mind the speed limit.
I mean, if I was looking at that history, even with my training about perinatal mental health, which is minimal. I'm not a specialist, I'm just a bog standard midwife.
But you've seen it in women, have you?
Absolutely. I've looked after women who've had postpartum psychosis. It is terrifying.
Can you give me, obviously not names, but can you give me an example of
I've looked after women who have seen things that are not in the room with them, and I've been in the room and it's quite obvious that they fully believe it. We sit with them, they're never left alone with the children, never for a second left alone with
because
the
they
children.
could hallucinate that baby is an alligator or whatever. Yeah. Well, I've got friends who hallucinated after birth when they got home.
Yeah, absolutely. It's terrifying. I had a very long phone call with a woman who was in psychosis a few years ago, and what she was believing was totally out of the realms of any kind of reality. It was utterly terrifying. I managed to keep her on the phone for long enough to get an ambulance there. Why she was left alone by anyone is beyond me. Certainly by the professionals that should have been looking after her. But this is what the healthcare system in America is just total. I mean, if we think ours is bad, even if you've got money there, you can't be looked after and cared for properly if you're a woman. And I've been watching on some of the things and seeing some of the comments, and the majority of the comments are made by people in America. The vitriol towards her is unbelievable.
And it's clear from both the calls to our programme and the reactions you're seeing online that what lots of women are seeing in this woman is themselves or their friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You'll know from listening to my show, my sister is a recently retired midwife, but she, actually in America as well, years and years ago, she was essentially held hostage in a room by a woman who had a psychotic episode immediately after giving birth. And it's a terrifying thing. And Sue, thank you so much for your call with your professional expertise as well. I do think that's what's coming through is the affinity that people have with Lindsay Clancy is because they see their own struggles in hers. 3:46.
Coming up at 4 on LBC, Tom Swarbrick.
The Home Office pamphlet handed out to asylum-seeking men telling them rape is illegal and child abuse is illegal. Is this the beginning of integration or the government admitting we've got a problem?
Tom Swarbrick at 4. Listen on our free Global Player app or the LBC app.
When you're smiling. Banning Dental Group clinics with over 5,000 top-rated Google reviews. Keep on smiling.
From Gold Bank London,
A safe and sound way to buy and sell gold.
For buyers, you can buy from a wide range of gold and silver bars, coins, and themed collections to suit your budget.
For sellers, you can get an instant valuation online and sell your goods easily, conveniently, and securely.
Easy to buy.
Easy to sell.
Start your journey in gold today.
Visit goldbank.co.uk.
Have you noticed the way fans shout at football matches?
Oh, wake up!
That's because conveying your message with sound is the most effective way to communicate to the players on the pitch that they're rubbish. And this works in advertising too. You see, research shows how brands that use radio to amplify their advertising are 49% more likely to get noticed.
To find out more about advertising on this station, text the word radio to 65353.
On the hunt for the perfect new kitchen? Visit your local Wickes kitchen showroom and explore all the stunning displays up close. Plus, get hands-on with our range of appliances, worktops and storage solutions. Come in and be inspired.
One thing I would
by
love
what's
to be
possible.
changed in
Find
this
your
game
nearest
is
Wickes kitchen
the heavy
showroom
loads
at
always seem to be linked to short
At
routes.
Waitrose, you know you're a food lover
I'd like a
when
2,500
25% off 6 bottles of wine and fizz means you've even got the perfect bottle
like
to impress the wine
23,
connoisseur at your
27
alfresco
tons.
dinner. Be bottle ready this bank holiday with 25% off 6 bottles, including aromatic Sanleo Prosecco, delicate Esprit de Bougonnet Provence Rosé, and zesty No. 1 Gavi de Gavi. Available now at Waitrose, the home of food lovers. Excludes bottles priced £6 or under, £100 or over, and box wines. Subject to availability. Please drink responsibly.
At BetMGM Casino, we're backed by over 50 years of Las Vegas heritage. So you'll be joining thousands of players already taking a spin on our daily free-to-play The Golden Wheel. Play today for the chance to win cash prizes and free spins. BetMGM Casino, the real deal. Golden Wheel, 1 entry per day. Minimum £10 deposit. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
This is LBC. Message Sheila Fogarty on WhatsApp now on 0345 60 60 973.
Let's talk to Louise in Camden. Louise, you've experienced postpartum psychosis.
I have, yeah. So I had to call because I see this case through a completely different lens to what I would have done a few years ago. When I had a very difficult birth with my son, my second born, and I was in hospital I nearly died. I was in hospital for quite a while, and I remember laying in the hospital room, and 2 nurses came in, and I was just absolutely believing that I was a terrorist, and they could never know that I was what I was going to do, and they couldn't know that was my baby, and just the craziest. And then I would just flip between wanting to. Right. I remember looking at my son one time; he was crying, and I had this voice in my head that literally said, "Just throw him, just throw him," and I had to put him down and walk out the room. Luckily, I did get some help with that. Unfortunately, I was a business owner with 3 males, and when I was 4 weeks postpartum, they decided that we were going to go from remote to fully in the office, and I just absolutely wasn't able to do that. So unfortunately, I had to go through the stress of exiting the business I had grown and cared very deeply for, because I didn't want to be away from my children.
Didn't you have any say in that?
Absolutely not. No. That was just a decision that was made, and they were all doing it, and I had to do it too. But I decided I couldn't. And then that went down a very, very stressful, very horrible situation, and that, unfortunately, I was so stressed by it because I felt like having children had lost me my career that I'd worked for 16 years, and I actually couldn't breastfeed anymore from the stress, and then I felt the guilt from that. And then I remember the resentment towards my son psychologically started to build, and I had to tell my husband how bad it was getting. But there were moments where I'd be in a room and I'd look at the clock, and then I would almost glance up at it again, and hours had passed, and I couldn't recall what I'd done.
Gosh, that's so interesting, because that is essentially what Lindsay's been saying, isn't it? That she does not remember periods of time.
Terrifying.
When you said at the beginning, after explaining the terrorism thing, when you said you got help for that, throw him, you got help for that. Did you speak up in the hospital about those thoughts?
I did.
That's brave of you. That's really brave.
Yeah, it was. Well, I didn't tell them about the wanting to hurt my son because I was so terrified they would take him away from me. So I imagine there were so many women that go through this.
Yeah.
You know, the lack of sleep. I unfortunately had a very, very, very horrible birthing situation, but you know, I never told them the truth of those thoughts because I was like, well, if they take him away from me, I can't do that.
And was your husband good with you when you said, I'm really resenting our child?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was, but he was kind of like more supportive of trying to fix it. Men fix, I think, they don't really necessarily all the time engross in emotions the way women do. And of course, that's not just every person's different, but generally speaking, men want to fix.
And to, you know, in his defence, he and any man's defence in that situation, he can't fix it, and you can't fix it, which is why we end up getting proper professional help about these things, isn't it?
Yeah. I actually did go and speak to my GP, especially when I was going through the stress of effectively having to leave my business, and she was very supportive. I think just but I was just given medication. I did have counselling that we paid for ourselves because I was offered it, but the waiting list was so long. Even though I was put to the front of the queue, my husband recognised that he had to act now. And that helped, I would say. But I think, to be honest, it just took time and support. And I have a very big female personalities in my family. I lent on them, and I ultimately but it was 6 months of having to learn to love being a mother again and love my son and
hold your mind together.
Yeah, but even now, I still pray that I couldn't breastfeed him. I breastfed my daughter for nearly a year. I couldn't breastfeed him past 3 months because the stress when milk just dried up.
Which Lindsay talks about in her diary as well, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She had to stop for her own mental health, is how she describes it.
Yeah. Now, the horror that I think about what those poor little children must have gone through, the fear and the terror of dying by the hands of some person who's supposed to protect them, it makes me want to cry thinking about it. But and the person I am now today, when I hear her story, I totally understand how that can happen. However, if you'd asked me when I had my first daughter,
you'd have been horrified.
I would have just been completely different.
Yeah.
You have to go through something like that
to understand it. Yeah, you do.
I really thought I was a terrorist. I was convinced that you're not you. It's scary.
Yeah, and thankfully you got the help you needed and are continuing to be supported, which is brilliant. But there's still too little time spent on new mothers and their mental well-being and their emotional well-being. It's an isolating experience for many people and a terrifying one, as Louise has just so outlined so well. Take good care, Louise, and maybe don't immerse yourself in this trial. I don't know. You'll know how to manage your well-being. But thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Helen in Tunbridge Wells. Hi, Helen.
Oh, hi, Sheila. I just wanted to give an experience from a family member who had a complete psychotic break. She was a high flyer, and she was really under a lot of stress. But her psychosis came from the lack of sleep. So she was doing so much, she wasn't getting enough sleep at all.
Probably not as good as a proper motion sim, obviously, or maybe not as good as some people's haptics.
She actually went to the GP, and
but for the price that you pay, I think it's well worth it.
But she needed hospitalisation. Within 6 hours of actually going to the GP, she somehow had a lucid moment and called me, and I recognised there was something deeply wrong with her. And by the time I got there, I was in shock at the state that she was in, because I couldn't understand. Her GP had known her for years, and I couldn't understand how on earth they did not get her immediately hospitalised, because she wasn't eating. She hadn't eaten for a week. She hadn't drank any water. She wasn't practicing hygiene, and her mind had completely gone. because she was hearing voices in her head saying that she was full, even though she hadn't eaten anything or drunk anything. We had to rush and get an ambulance and get her hospitalised.
And can I ask, in the family at the time, did everybody rally and say, this is serious, she's suffering?
At the time, she asked some family members, and I don't think they took it seriously, which was so alarming to me, because when she happened to call me, I recognised immediately something was wrong with her. And I was even more alarmed because I actually spoke to the GP and could not understand, why didn't you get her hospitalised immediately when you saw her?
How is she now?
Thank goodness she's okay, but the voices are real. In the hospital, her mind had completely gone.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing her story, and the voices thing, which Lindsay Clancy talks about, is coming through in a number of calls. Marie in Windsor. Hi, Marie.
Hi, good afternoon. I'll be quick because I realise time's running out. This happened to a family member of mine. It was over 40 years ago, and while within 24 hours of giving birth, she had a psychotic situation, and no one recognised this in the hospital. It wasn't till 24 hours later that she told her husband that she had a message from God telling her to throw her baby on the floor, and if it survived, it was the Messiah. And it turned out that the baby had got a fractured skull. Baby was sent off to a hospital in London with a fractured skull, and this family member was sent off to a different hospital in the psychiatric ward, which she was in for 6 weeks. And to this day, 40 years ago, the mother, everything was fine. I'm trying to keep this short. Everything turned out okay, but to this day, the mother is having therapy for guilt feelings, and it's gone on for so long.
Yeah, well, she went somewhere very difficult, didn't she, mentally, through no doing of her own. Something terrible happened to her, and no wonder it might take a lifetime to navigate that. Thank you very much, Marie, for your call. Marie in Windsor. Quite a few people in maternity care, one way or another, are saying, just a reminder, that postnatal depression is different to postpartum psychosis. It is. If any of this has led you to need to have a conversation with somebody, do feel free to call the Samaritans or speak to anybody right in front of you if you feel you need help. 116 123
Keep right.
is the number for the Samaritans. Right. That's it from me for today. We will keep a close eye on this trial and very definitely come back to it when the verdicts come in, and probably before then as well. Such a lot to talk about. Coming up at 7 on LBC is Henry Riley, but now it's time for Tom Swarbrick.
Sheila, thank you very much indeed. Afternoon, folks. Welcome to the show. It's 4 o'clock.
Oh my gosh. A 7 in English literature, a 7 in maths.
GCSE result day today, but a desire from the government to end the treadmill of resits. If you got low marks in maths and English, how many times should you be made to resit them? Also,
garlic bread. Garlic bread.
Is Andy Burnham prolier than thou? A suggestion that the PM's northernness and his harking back to working class roots is wearing a little thin. Can the Prime Minister legitimately claim to be working class? And
if you break UK law, you will be removed from the country.
Welcome to Britain. Please don't have sex with children. The astonishing Home Office pamphlet offered to asylum seekers suggests the government is concerned about the threat posed to women and girls. Should this pamphlet need to exist?
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 4 o'clock, questions are being asked of Prince Harry and Meghan's security, as it's revealed the couple are moving back to the UK this month. They remain non-working royals, and their 2 children are expected to start school in September, with the family living outside London. Royal commentator Jenny Bond says the shock factor appears to be their style.
Everyone was gobsmacked yet again. It seems to be the way they rock, Harry and Meghan. They like a lot of secrecy, a lot of privacy, and then these bombshells. It's the sort of thing that Harry railed against in his book about the way the palace briefed certain media. Well, it seems to be that's what he's doing too.
The Prime Minister says the funding of their security is a private matter. Andy Burnham says it's right that a new government document makes the UK's rules on sex and consent explicitly clear to asylum seekers. PM's defending Home Office guidance, reminding migrants that rape and domestic abuse are serious crimes. The Conservative leader says anyone needing that information doesn't belong in Britain. Reform UK MP and former Home Secretary Suella Braverman says the leaflet's a scandal.
Anyone who comes to this country needs to sign up to British values. And frankly, if you don't understand that in Britain we treat women as equals, that rape is a criminal offence, then you have no place in this country.
Firefighters are warning lives are being put at risk in London because of a lack of firefighting resilience. The Fire Brigade's union says this summer's fires across the capital have pushed the service to breaking point. A tanker off the coast of Yemen is said to have been boarded by 6 armed men and diverted towards Somalia. The raid's been reported in the Gulf of Aden. Edmund Fitton-Brown, a former UK ambassador to Yemen, says world powers will be working on a response.
Sometimes a battleship will approach a ship that's been captured by pirates, and the pirates will surrender or negotiate free passage. But sometimes you end up with ship owners or others paying ransoms, and that, of course, was how Somali piracy got started.
And an ADHD charity has complained to the media regulator about a documentary that suggested the condition is a social construct. Channel 4 says the programme asked legitimate questions. In the city a short time ago, the FTSE was trading down 4 points at 10,739. The pound buys $1.36 and €1.17. LBC weather. Showers will mostly fade overnight and it'll feel cooler. Lows of 9 to 16 degrees. Tomorrow, early rain in Northern Ireland will die out, leaving many northern areas dry with sunny spells. But elsewhere, some heavy showers later on. Highs of 12 to 20 Celsius. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Matt Hewitt.
This is LBC. From Global, leading Britain's conversation with Tom Swarbrick.
Just gone 4. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Tom Swarbrick at Drive on LBC. Hope we find you very well this Thursday afternoon. Coming up.
This is a private matter. It's a matter for Harry and for Meghan, and we wish them well in the move that they're making.
Harry comes home. The Prince and his Duchess Meghan come back to the UK next month, we're told, with questions about the level of security they will be afforded by the taxpayer. Do you mind if you pay for it? Do you care? And
we're branding them a failure after failure after failure. It's knocking their confidence.
As students collect their GCSEs today, the Education Secretary vows to end the treadmill of resets. Should you have to have a grade 4 or a C in old money in English and in maths to be able to get a decent job? Have you been stopped getting a decent job by the barrier of those resets?
Call and WhatsApp message now. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
Very good afternoon to you. This hour.
What it really shows is that we have a truly dysfunctional asylum system, and our lax border security poses a fundamental threat.
At school, you are taught about reproductive rights, you are taught about sex education, you're taught about consent, about bodily autonomy, about the law around sex and the law around sex and children. You're probably taught this, I would suggest gently, from the age of about, 7 or 8, maybe younger. And then, of course, it gradually gets more sort of involved throughout your education. The aim being you get to adulthood, or ideally sooner, knowing that rape, that the sexual assault of children is wrong morally and legally. Now, some people choose to ignore all that. They choose to ignore the culture in which they are brought up, the education about this that they are given, and the threat, in theory, that the law poses to you should you contravene all of that. But they are given that grounding in those rights and wrongs, in the morality and immorality, in the legality and the illegality. And so when it comes to this pamphlet, a pamphlet produced by the Home Office handed to male asylum seekers, which says, effectively, don't rape women, that child abuse is a crime, we don't sexually abuse children in this country, we do not mutilate the genitalia of girls here, thank you very much. When you see this pamphlet, I think two questions arise. The first is the government at the stage of admitting a difficult truth, that there is a proportion of men from other cultures coming here who do not have the foggiest idea about how we live and are therefore a risk to you, a risk to your wife, a risk to your daughter? Those people may well integrate. They may well acclimate to this way of life, but we start with a bigger degree of risk than we do with men who have a grounding in all of this, through having lived here and been educated here, not least because the people who are coming here are themselves already adults. So is this pamphlet a tacit admission by the government that there is a high enough level of risk posed by these men to women and girls, certainly enough to prompt, to apparently require having this pamphlet produced? And question two, if we agree that there is a danger that people from other places and cultures, which in terms of the rights of women and children are so alien as to require a level of education as an adult that you would have received as a child, if we agree that that is the case, there is a really difficult question here. Should we afford them the time of trying to acclimatise and to integrate to this way of life, particularly when that time will be spent in your town or in your village? We allow into a high-trust society people the government is tacitly suggesting they aren't sure they can trust, or at least to know the very, very basics of the moral and legal code in this country. That, to me, is the sort of the heart of this issue, actually. How do you integrate people as adults who may arrive with diametrically opposite value systems? A pamphlet wasn't deemed enough for you at school to know about sex and consent and the law. Why on earth would it be enough for some of these adults? And are we willing to take the risk that it is? 03456060973 is the number. Seema Saeed is an Advocacy and Communications Director at the Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants. Thank you very much indeed. I wonder what you made when you saw the details of this pamphlet.
Well, first I just want to correct something that you've said, which is that there is an idea that people from other cultures, which you haven't specifically defined, don't get taught about sexual consent. And that I find completely abhorrent and untrue. People around the world do know that it's completely wrong to rape women, to sexually assault people, not just women but men as well, because men can be victims of rape and sexual assault. People, the idea that if you go to other countries, everybody from other countries doesn't know that it's wrong to assault and rape people, that's just not true. People know. So
why is this pamphlet required?
This is the question. Now, firstly, last year 100 women's rights groups, including Rape Crisis and Refuge, said that linking sex attacks to migration is a dangerous racist diversion and it doesn't help survivors. What's actually happening is the weaponization of survivors' trauma for political gain by politicians who are creating a moral panic about migration because they don't want to deal with the systemic crisis that this country faces. Now, the issue of sexual violence is a crisis.
Yes,
most people are raped by somebody that they know. That's 6 out of 7 rapes. And
immigrants
2 in 5 rapes are carried out by people's partners or ex-partners. 40% of them are not even reported. And if you're raped as a child, that goes up to 70%. And 97% of reported rapes don't even go to charge stage. So this is a societal-wide problem. And talking of rapists who know they shouldn't rape, Andy Burnham, as soon as he became Prime Minister, handed out the red carpet and an invitation to Donald Trump to come to Manchester. This guy has a civil court has said he has committed rape. There are allegations around him. There are dubious pictures of him with Epstein. So this is a societal-wide problem that we
as you say, the civil court did. So I come back to my question: why the need for the pamphlet?
What Andy Burnham is doing is weaponizing survivors' trauma in order to have political gain, to appease the far right, to appease reform, and to appease those billionaires who are creating a moral panic about migration to distract people from the real crises that we're facing, the cost of living crisis we're facing climate crisis.
Seema. We talk about the cost of living, we talk about climate. It is not worth anybody's time diverting away from some very, very serious issues about sexual abuse, rape, violence towards women and girls by saying it's all a distraction from the other stuff. This is a very serious issue in and of itself.
Just to specify, the distraction is the targeting of migrants. Sexual violence is a serious issue across our society, but this pamphlet is there to target and scapegoat migrants. It's not there to actually deal with the systemic
Why is it targeting and scapegoating? To provide information to people who might not know that information?
Because the way that this has been announced to the media, announced in the press, it's clear that this is a performative act, and this pamphlet should be for all people.
How do you know the way in which it's been announced?
It's been going toward, it's across all of the media, it's across all of the press, it's become a media story.
56, right on.
Press release as well, or there's a hint about it.
Never been so happy to see a 56 mile per hour speed limit.
Are you speaking from knowledge here about how this was handled by the government to the press, or are we sort of guessing?
This is normally how the government does press releases, but in the end, the key issue here
What do you mean?
is that
Sorry, I don't understand that. What do you mean that this is normally how the government does press releases?
The government normally announces things to the press, either directly with a press release or things get leaked all the time. I'm sure that the listeners also know that this is something.
Journalists also find things out. They also go into departments and look at things, and they see various things that are being produced that are not also press released by the government.
Sure, and if a journalist has done that, why has that become a major story when the real issue is sexual violence across the board and not just amongst immigrants? So
this pamphlet should go to everybody.
Exactly, this pamphlet should go to everybody, but the fact that this whole story is being portrayed as...
But the pamphlet, in a sense, of course, Seema, the pamphlet has already gone to millions of people in this country because, as I said at the start, millions of people in this country are taught about these issues from the get-go at school. You're taught from a very young age about consent, about bodily autonomy, about reproductive rights, all that stuff. We are taught that. So why does the government believe it's right to hand to adult men a pamphlet that says we don't tolerate sexual abuse of children, and 16 is the legal age of consent in this country?
Handing a pamphlet to adult men is okay, but what we're seeing the media doing and what we're seeing right now, because the way that you've presented this story is that people from other cultures don't understand sexual violence and sexual consent.
Why bother handing the pamphlet to them if they do?
I think everybody needs a reminder all of the time, but another fact
but I come back to this. The difference is, the clear and obvious difference is that people here are taught about this stuff. Now, they can ignore it, and unfortunately, terribly, they do.
How do you know that that's the difference? Have you been to every country to see how people are taught about sexual consent and sexual violence?
Well, otherwise the government doesn't need to hand a pamphlet out. Is that the suggestion? You don't think they need to do this?
Everyone should be continuously taught about sexual violence and sexual consent. We need a constant campaign across the whole of society to stop sexual violence, to stop rape.
Understanding Behaviours and Expectations in the UK. It's a 7-chapter document. It talks about domestic abuse, physical violence. It talks about the fact that the consent is age of consent is 16. That we don't tolerate the sexual abuse of children. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that is taught to a child in this country.
Yeah, and everybody should be taught this stuff. But the issue here is the way that it's being portrayed.
Adult male people who are coming over to claim asylum via this pamphlet, presumably.
Everybody should be taught about sexual violence, but the issue here is the way this is becoming portrayed as an issue that's specific towards migrants and asylum seekers, which it isn't. It's a societal-wide issue.
I've not suggested that. In fact, at the start of this, I said that there are people in this country, far more in terms of raw numbers, there are people in this country who choose to ignore the moral, legal compulsion not to do this stuff, and it's terrible.
It is terrible, and I'm sure that a lot of the people in this country who are also violent towards women, who will be gloating about pamphlets being sent to asylum seekers, especially if they want to scapegoat and target asylum seekers, especially if they're the kind of people who are arrested, rioting and trying to set fire outside asylum seeker hotels, will also learn something from reading these pamphlets, because 40 actually something like 40% of these people have been reported by their partners for domestic violence. These are the people who are rioting outside asylum hotels, and they need to be taught this too. But it's quite interesting what the content of
they need to be taught it too. So in the same way that that perhaps a male asylum seeker who's come into this country also might need to be taught about domestic violence, consent, child abuse, whatever.
I have no objection to people coming to this country being taught about consent. The objection is the portrayal of sexual violence as something that's unique or special.
I've not suggested that.
Well,
there might be people who do, but I've not suggested that.
When you started the show, you did talk a lot about people from other cultures not knowing what it's like here in this country.
Well, presumably that's why they've been handed a pamphlet. Otherwise, what's the point of handing a pamphlet to them?
Well, the point of handing a pamphlet to people is to educate people about sexual violence, but there shouldn't be an assumption that just because people are from other cultures, they don't know anything about sexual violence.
I've not made that assumption. I've gone from what the government have done, which is the government has said we probably need to get some information, some very basic information to these people for reasons that are to be explored, I guess. Like they don't already know this.
Why do you think that people in the UK continue to commit sexual violence and sexual assault?
Because they choose to ignore the legality, the morality around sexual violence to women. They choose to make that. They make that choice, and it's appalling, and they should be punished to the nth degree.
And how do you know that some of these people, foreign nationals who come here, have exactly the same thing, where they may already know that this is not right, but the ones who choose to commit sexual violence and assault, they're exactly the same as the kind of people here who choose to commit sexual violence and assault, and they deserve that same treatment, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think
equal opportunities punishing sex offenders.
So I think we're agreed that everybody should receive sex education. What I am really strongly against is the weaponization of sexual trauma, survivors' trauma, to target and scapegoat migrants specifically, because the way that this is being portrayed and talked about is as if it's a specific problem. But let's roll out prevention across the whole of society. Let's start providing support to survivors too, and survivors to allow them to actually get the support that they need to report their rapes and to have justice for those rapes. And I think a lot of women, especially those the 92% of cases that are committed by UK nationals, will be really disappointed to see that this has been rolled out so quickly, but there aren't similar measures of public education rolling out across the whole of society, rolling out across businesses. And, for instance, Andy Burnham really needs to stand up to Donald Trump, because his entire system seems to be very misogynistic, and we shouldn't be sycophantic to him and rolling out the carpet to him.
Appreciate your time. Seema Saeed is Advocacy and Communications Director of the Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants. A reminder, a jury found Donald Trump liable for sexually abusing the advice columnist E. Jean Carroll in 1996. A $5 million judgment was awarded to her that could, that obviously is going to haunt the former president. 03456060973. Is this pamphlet needed? And if so, why? 419.
LBC Travel, I'm J. Louise Knight, and there's major disruption on the trains this afternoon due to an earlier investigation at Potter's Bar. Now, all routes from King's Cross and Finsbury Park up to Stevenage are being delayed by up to an hour. There are also some cancellations as well. Of course, I'll keep you up to date as we head throughout this afternoon. There's still no Windrush line from Surrey Quays to New Cross after a line-side fire earlier in the week, and on the Tube due to planned upgrade works. No Piccadilly line from Uxbridge to Cockfosters. Onto the roads, the M25 has queues anti-clockwise from Wisley at 10 to an accident before Leatherhead at junction 9.
What a
it's
name
also
of a place to live.
Clockwise towards Potter's Bar at 24 after a horse box broke down earlier, and there are delays anti-clockwise to Gosnell at 6.
This is LBC.
Class, it's been reported that if we keep using water like we are now, by 2055 we could be short by 5 billion litres a day.
Hold on, miss. 2055? We'll be grown-ups by then. We're not having that, are we? No. Oi, you lot, use watering cans.
And fix those drips and drops.
And take shorter showers, yeah? Because when we work together, it all adds up. So come on, you lot, search Let's Save Water.
Call Tom Swarbrick 0345 6060 973 LBC.
There are lots of nice kitchens out there, but if you're looking for something a bit different to the Joneses, you need a spark of imagination. It might suddenly hit you in the middle of the night. Or in the hairdressers. But it's more likely to happen at the fabulous kitchen showroom at Spark World in Martok. Spark your imagination and talk to our designers. Beautiful kitchens are made at Spark World.
Big news for little ones. The Tesco Fred and Flo baby range has a fresh new look. And to celebrate, Club Card members can get 4 for 3 on Fred and Flo products at Club Card prices. Sound good? We'll take that as a yes. Plus, we've made quality improvements right across the range, from delicate on-skin nappies and wipes to baby food and more. Tesco Fred and Flo. A little help for life's big adventure. Exclusions apply. And 7th of September, Club Card or app required. Delivery charges may apply.
Jimmy Carragher.
Busy.
David Prutton.
Busy.
Gary Neville.
Very busy.
Michael Richards.
Getting his hair cut.
Of course he is. Kelly Cates.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Now busy.
So no one from Sky Sports can do this radio ad?
Yeah, but have you seen how many matches they've got this season? They're all just too busy.
Fine. I'll do it myself. Sky Sports have got 1,500 live matches this season. Search Get Sky Sports to find out more.
That's not bad, you know.
Do you reckon I could get on the telly?
Don't push it.
Well, there goes that dream.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC with Tom Swarbrick.
4:22 the time. Tom Swarbrick on LBC. It's a pamphlet written by the Home Office for asylum seekers. It literally says on the front of it. A guide for asylum seekers. Understanding behaviours and expectations in the UK. Talks about the consequences of behaviour, and you look at the parts about sex and consent. It also has parts about respect in public and domestic abuse and gender equality. Starts here. Consent means both people freely agree to sex or sexual contact. Now, I would wager that you were taught that at school aged 10, 11, maybe as you got into senior school. People choose to ignore that. People in this country choose to ignore that. Men in this country choose to ignore that. And they should be put in prison. They should be punished to the full extent that the law can. But if you have people coming into the country who apparently do not know this, does this pamphlet therefore need to exist? Is it a tacit admission by the government that there is a bit of a worry here about the differences in approach from these particular men to what we would consider cultural, societal, moral norms? And if there is, should we? Why do we take the risk? Why do we take the risk? 0345 6060 973. David's in Putney. David.
Hi, Tom. So you brought up the idea of sex education in school.
Yes.
I just wanted to touch on that by saying, first of all, it's not just about perpetrators, it's also about helping educate victims into the awareness that they are being victims of sexual violence and assault. So it's not just a case of teaching our children not to commit acts of sexual violence or rape. It's also to teach them that they might have been victims of such things. And the same thing applies to the people coming over as asylum seekers. It's telling them that they should not allow themselves to be put in situations where they could be abused, because we also have to acknowledge the fact that there are asylum seekers who do come to this country and do become victims of sexual violence and rape. So there's that aspect of it, and there's also the aspect of the comparison that has been made by you to say, like, why are young adults or adult men being told about this when we have children being told this?
Yeah.
And then I can raise you to the point of, well, who is committing these sexual assaults, sexual violence and rapes? It is not the children that are being educated in schools, and it is not all of the asylum seekers who are coming over. There are a selection.
Yep.
So
I got it in the end.
Asylum seekers, I think, is actually
it turned out I had a setting wrong.
The behaviours of asylum seekers more so than, let's say, older men or older people in general in this country.
Value the behaviour of, what do you mean by that?
We value that they make sure that they are behaving more appropriately than educating people in this country already, because sexual violence and assault and rape is something that occurs in this country, and it is being perpetrated
but what
by
doesn't
people.
occur in this country, certainly until relatively recently, is the genital mutilation of women, girls, is the kind of practices that you do see in other nations when it comes to the treatment of women, their status in society, how they are treated by men.
If we're going to talk about circumcision and things as such, we are also going to have to raise the point that young boys do get circumcised in this country very willingly by their parents, which also is classified as genital mutilation.
Well, if you think it's all bad, if you think it's all the wrong thing to do, presumably we as a culture say we don't like that kind of thing.
Yes.
So
why on earth would we be okay with young boys having their genitals mutilated?
Why is it wrong to say to asylum-seeking men from parts of the world where that is sort of de rigueur, normal,
lovely,
allowed for, encouraged? Why is it wrong for the government of the day
Probably
to say
best you don't mention places.
It's not wrong. It is better that they are told this, and I think that
have fun, dear.
Above a certain age should be told this as well, because again, the people who are committing this, the majority of the time, are British nationals above a certain age and of a certain gender. Teaching our children in schools is a good step. Teaching people who are coming to this country to be British nationals in the future is another good step. But we are all looking at these foreign people and thinking one thing when our home turf is still a problem.
Yes, but it's there are two different categories there, I'm afraid. Everyone is a person, obviously. They're all human beings, obviously. The majority of offenders are men, obviously. But people who are born here are born here, and the people who arrive here are not. And so in that sense, there are two different categories of individual about which the government can do different things. And so I think there is a question drawn out by all of this, which is, to what extent are we willing to spend time and potential risk in integrating people who might have a very, very different view of what is culturally acceptable here?
Well, it's like the idea that it's wrong for us to have asylum seekers integrating, and we want to educate them on cultural values and laws in this country. But you've said it's two different categories, but we aren't treating the other category effectively enough. I don't
disagree. I don't disagree with that either. I mean, that is a real problem. But again, these are two different types of individuals now. We're talking about people born here and people who aren't born here. Whether you like it or not, they're two different types of individuals about whom the government have different powers. David, thank you for the call. George is in Wimbledon. George.
Hi, Tom. It's such a weird one. My mother was abused as a child, and I'm just thinking, listening to other callers, and I think there's an obvious difference here that's being missed, which is knowledge of doing something wrong oneself and the cultural protection that allows somebody to do it. And I think the evidence is in the Pakistani grooming gangs up north, who specifically targeted people from outside their own cultural background, white, young, poor girls. And that was a conscious decision. They knew they were doing wrong. Like my poor late mother. When you push a girl to the ground and rape her, you know that that's not right. I didn't need to be told that by anybody, and I think most human beings in their hearts know that it's wrong. Right. But there are some cultures, whether they're coming now or whether they came here 40 years ago, some
nice to see her have
blind eyes turned.
Have actually solved the problem with
or the moral compulsion not to do that is not backed up by law.
Absolutely.
So, there are parts of the world where the age of consent is far, far younger than 16. We don't have that.
No, I've lived in the Middle East for a decade, and I'm married to an Arab, and I'm gay. There isn't a single Muslim country on this planet where I can be myself, but there are many Muslim countries, let's take Afghanistan, where women have zero rights, and many countries, many cultures where it's normal to do appalling, disgusting things to women and to gay people, by the way.
Sure.
And those people don't just come in off a boat. Those people, many of them, have been here for generations. And that's the problem. It's about values.
Yep.
It's about cultural values and identity and a refusal to accept what they know in their hearts.
So if the Home Office is tacitly accepting that the difference in cultural values might be so enormous, in some of the people that arrive, again, not all, in some of the people that arrive, that a childlike explainer of the very basics here is required.
It's not required, let's be clear.
Well, why is it not required?
Because they know in their hearts that what they're doing is evil and wrong and vile, but they think they can get away with it because they've gotten away with it for so long. They know it's wrong. So it's like you've got a white rapist in this country. They know it's wrong, but they still do it because they are compelled to do it. And so, as you rightly say, most of them aren't inclined to do that. But those that do come here, they think they can get away with it, maybe because we're a soft touch, but also because they come from cultures where it essentially is okay.
George, thank you for the call. 03456060973 is the number. Come to more of your calls in a few moments' time. Let me bring you a piece of breaking news. You're listening to LBC. Coming from the Press Association that Hekmat Omar Ali Hakim has been charged in connection with the terrorist attack at Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue in October last year, which killed worshippers Melvin Kravitz and Adrian Dorby. This is coming from Counter-Terrorism Police in Northwest. Hekmat Omar Ali Hakim, age 49, now charged in connection with that terror attack at the Heaton Park Synagogue. Coming up after the news...
You have to worry if costs have been cut too deep so that guest safety is impossible to maintain.
The boss of Travelodge quits amid backlash over the chain's handling of a sexual assault at one of its hotels. We'll bring you the details of that after the 4:32 news headlines now. Matt Hewitt.
The Prime Minister says how the Duke and Duchess of Sussex pay for their security once back in the UK is a private matter. Prince Harry and Meghan will return with their children to a non-royal residence later this month. As we've just heard, a 49-year-old man from Salford has been charged in connection with a terrorist attack at a synagogue in Manchester last October. He's accused of failing to disclose information regarding terrorist activity. The attack at Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation killed 2 worshippers. And an academic who made plagiarism allegations against the Cambridge professor found dead last week has been suspended by his university in Belgium. Nathan Kovner says he's been accused of discriminating against Jason Arde, who became Cambridge's youngest ever black professor in 2023. LBC weather. Showers will mostly fade overnight. It'll feel cooler, lows of 9. Tomorrow, early showers in Northern Ireland will die out, leaving many northern areas dry with sunny spells, at least to begin with. Highs of 12 to 20 Celsius.
LBC this morning on Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
The government booklet from the Home Office telling asylum seekers not to beat up women when they're in this country.
What does it tell you about the supposed border force checking of these people that they get in? Let's get straight to your reaction.
This is just rules, so they understand the rules. They can also be victims themselves. 3 women a week are killed by their partners, by English people. Quite frankly, all men should be given this booklet.
We don't need men from anywhere else coming into this country who can perpetrate the same violence against women. We have enough to deal with.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Back tomorrow morning from 7. Listen on our free Global Player app or the LBC app.
Rather live by the coast or surrounded by countryside? At Underwood Gardens in Watchet, you can have both. It's a new Edenston development of 2, 3 and 4 bedroom homes with a selection of bungalows, each with beautiful interiors, green open space and a hilltop park close to the Somerset coastline. Whether you're a first-time buyer, need more space or are downsizing, Underwood Gardens is coming soon. Register
throwing a bit of judgment towards some men that aren't to blame for a lot of those crimes.
Summer's here at Monkton Elm Garden Centre and a chance for this peace-loving sunflower to relax, unwind and... Banger's that idea. This summer at Monkton Elm there's a whole range of kids' activities, budget-friendly crafts, a summer treasure hunt, and it says here a chance to meet me, Sammy the Sunflower, in person. With so much happening this summer at Monkton Elm Garden Centre and Restaurant in Taunton, I'm going to need a holiday. Visit monktonelm.com.
In a tranquil corner of the Jurassic Coast lies a world-famous sanctuary where hundreds of donkeys are waiting to meet you. This summer, discover one of Devon's best free days out at the Donkey Sanctuary in Sidmouth. Step into nature with our peaceful gardens, inspiring exhibitions, and exciting activity trails for the whole family to enjoy. And when you visit our award-winning restaurant or browse our gift shop, know that every penny of profit helps save donkeys and mules around the world. For a heartwarming free day out, search the Donkey Sanctuary Sidmouth. Open daily from 9.
Need anything from Tesco? How about winning one of 40 family holidays to the head plus €500 travel money? To enter, simply spend £25 or more with your club card to qualify. Now that's something worth checking in for. little helps. UK and Isle of Man 18 plus only. Club card required. T's and C's travel restrictions and exclusions apply.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
To what extent do you think it's discriminatory, or, as we were hearing earlier, sort of playing into the hands of the people that want to play with this stuff politically? This pamphlet idea. It's an absolute good luck charm for people like Nigel Farage and what have you, who've been banging this drum for some time. Do you think this either unfortunately or deliberately plays into his hands? Is it discrimination? Is it unfair? 03456060973 is the number. Come back to your calls on that in just a moment. First,
I did find it quite difficult to deal with, as in I felt like I'd been failed not only by him but also the hotel. It's just something that you don't think is going to happen.
The boss of Travelodge has quit amid a backlash over the chain's handling of a sexual assault at one of its hotels. This is Jo Boydell, had been criticised for her response to the guest safety row that followed the attack in Maidenhead in Berkshire in December 2022, in which a man had been given a key card to his victim's room. Freddie Van Mierlo is Lib Dem MP for Henley and Tame, where Travelodge has its HQ. Thank you very much indeed for coming on. I wonder what you make of the boss's resignation here.
Well, thank you, Tom, and good afternoon. Well, in all fairness to Jo Boydell, I think it's a good thing that she's resigned, and she listened to my call last week to do so. I think she had a long enough period of time to resolve the issues at Travelodge and turn the company around. She didn't do that, and her performances were very poor in the media, claiming that she hadn't heard of cases, and I think that actually speaks to the culture that was set in the company. So I do hope now that the new chief exec, the interim chief exec, will be able to turn this company around, because it's a big employer in my constituency and I want to see it do well.
So what were the specific reasons that you called on her to go? Poor, sort of a lack of judgment or lack of oversight about what the issues were?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, she failed to meet with a group of MPs in Parliament and then claimed that she had not heard of the issues that were taking place in the company. Right. But most importantly, I don't think she engaged with the core issue, which is how the business operates. The fact that it operates a low-cost model, and that's a good thing, we need that within the industry, but that I had people in touch with me, former employees, saying they were looking after entire hotels on their own without adequate training, and instead the company was looking at process-orientated changes, welcome as they were, but we were still seeing problems arise. Even just in July last year, there were reports in the media of wrong key cards being given out, and that's why she had to go.
Oh, well, I have to say, I mean, I had an incident where I was checked into a hotel, given a key card, went to the room, and there was a bloke in there, had to shut the door and, get out of there. A colleague of mine had a similar thing happen. I think it happens quite a lot.
Yeah, it does. I mean, even after I spoke last week to BBC Breakfast, I had friends reach out to me to say, "Oh, a colleague had this happen to them," and most of the time it's an embarrassing mistake.
Yeah.
But there have been very serious consequences of these sorts of mistakes happening for women, and that's why they need to be ironed out. They should be never events, and unfortunately, they're all too frequently happening.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on. Freddie Van Mierlo is the Lib Dem MP for Henley and Tame, where Travelodge has its HQ. They have given us a statement. Let me bring it to you. The safety and security of customers in our hotels is extremely important, and we want everyone to be safe and feel safe in our hotels. When we became aware of the issues, we acted quickly because the safety of our guests is our top priority. We have updated our room access security policy across all 600 plus hotels, completed a full deadbolt audit of all UK rooms, partnered with the leading violence against women and girls expert, and commissioned an independent review led by Paul Greeny KC. In addition, we've been working closely with UK Hospitality, participating in their guest security working group, helping to develop industry guest security principles and good practice guidance, which aims to promote best practice across the hospitality sector. End statement from Travelodge. Wonder if you have had a similar experience. 20 to 5. Katie's in Taunton. Katie.
Hello there. Hi.
Hi. You want to talk about this pamphlet?
Yes. So, I'm a translator, interpreter. I worked 18 years and only retired 3 months ago. And Up until 2 years ago, I used to interpret for maybe 1 or 2 rape cases a week. And in the last 2 years, it went up to 4, 5 a week. And that doesn't include like any other drug-related or GBH, nothing like that, or traffic offences. So it definitely has more than doubled. And day and night, we would get phone calls, asked to go to police stations, interpret, and then later on interpret in court cases, even in prisons after they are charged. So when people say government is exaggerating their figures, they are not. Actually, if they reveal every single rape case, like I think 20,000 interpreters in the country, and every single one of us when we meet, and most of us are 60% of our cases are sexual assault or rape cases. They are not. They can't publish every single case. It's impossible. So basically, it is deterrent. It won't stop, maybe, but when people come when they are questioned in police stations or court, they believe that as long as you are 16 in this country, legally you are allowed to have sex, so to them it's okay, ticks the boxes. But they don't understand the consent.
Right.
If a girl
and sorry, Katie, just to be really clear about this, as you are translating for an individual who's been charged with this or is in court having been charged with or convicted of this, they are saying to you, to the police via you, that individual is saying, I didn't know that their consent was needed if they're over the age of 16. Where I'm from, that's fine.
So during the interview, obviously not all of them, some of them said the past that so in the consultation room, for example, so their understanding is it's basically as long as it is not under 16, they think that it's okay. And if the girl is, for example, coming out of a club, quite drunk, asking for a lighter, to them it's okay. She's giving the green light. So, but I interpreted for a guy.
And you've had that happen. Sorry, you've had that happen.
Yes, definitely, 100%. And I interpreted for a person, his asylum interview. He said he was gay. So obviously I wouldn't know the result because he would hear it 2 weeks later. But a few months later, I was called to a police station.
And then exit right.
And then I turned up, it was that guy. So clearly he was granted stay. And they showed him, told him what he did. He gave no comment interview, but he's
go straight
basically
on.
He was waiting outside a club, I won't name it, but first he assaulted a girl. I assume they were over 17 because they were coming out of the club, so they needed to be old enough, but university student. But that girl managed to get away, and this guy disappeared. A couple of hours came back again, and then started following this quite vulnerable girl because she was high and drunk, and followed her while she was walking home. And in a car park, he raped her. No protection, no nothing. And that girl was destroyed, basically.
And this man said that to me was normal, or that was, I don't see what was wrong.
No, this was a different case, and he didn't show any remorse at all. Not even in the court. Like, he kept saying, it's not like I killed someone. I mean, it's just like when he heard how many years punishment, prison sentence, he was shocked, and he kept saying, it's not like I killed somebody. And, so it's shocking. I mean, it's people don't know, obviously, because, most people are not allowed to speak, say they sign NDA, people from Home Office, police officers, interpreters, just because I'm retired now, obviously I haven't mentioned any names or,
I understand that
places, but it is definitely, in my experience, and my colleagues as well, when we meet in interpreters' room in different courts, we sit separately, and they all talk about the same thing. we are ashamed of what
do you think, Katie, in your experience, and it's very dependent on the type of migrant that we are talking about, their legal right to be here. But I've thought for some time now that because their legal claim to be in this country is in question, do they have the legal right to be in this country? Until that question has a satisfactory answer, yes or no, people should not be allowed to just wander around communities, towns, villages, cities freely.
Exactly. They shouldn't be. They shouldn't, because we don't know anything about their background. And with regards to mutilation, genital mutilation, again, I interpreted for families for that. So for boys, it's different. Circumcision is just a foreskin, and it's not going to affect their sexual performance in the future, and it's supposed to be healthier, to be honest. But for girls, it's
to remove sexual pleasure, isn't it? I mean, it's to stop that, in effect. Katie, I have to leave it there only for time reasons. I really appreciate your call. I know that it's actually very difficult for someone in your position to speak out about what it is that you've come across, what it is you've seen. But I'm very grateful to you that you have, albeit the details are pretty distressing. 03456060973. I mean, what does the government do about this? Is this a tacit admission that we've got a problem? And if so, what is the extent of that problem? Come to more of your calls in a few moments. After 5.
If you've done well as a student, that's fantastic. You've got your grades. And equally, if things haven't gone so well, it's not the end of the world.
As students collect their GCSEs today, the Education Secretary vows to end the treadmill of resets. Should you have to have a grade 4, or in old money, a C, in English and maths to be able to get a decent job? Should you just be able to get a decent job if you don't have those? We'll get to the details of that after the news at 5. 4:48.
LBC Travel, I'm J-Louise Knight, and there's serious disruption for some of the trains this afternoon. It's due to an investigation earlier at Potters Bar. All routes from King's Cross and Finsbury Park to Stevenage are being delayed by almost up to an hour. There are also some cancellations. After a line-side fire earlier in the week, the Windrush line remains suspended from Surrey Quays to New Cross, and on the tube, due to planned upgrade works, there's no Piccadilly line from Cockfosters to Uxbridge. On the roads, an accident in Bermondsey has closed Tower Bridge Road both ways to the Bricklayers Arm, so there are queues, and the M25 is struggling anti-clockwise from junction 10 at Wisley to junction 9 for Leatherhead. That's after an accident earlier, although all lanes are open again.
This is LBC.
Plus, it's been reported that if we keep using water like we are now, by 2055 we could be short by 5 billion litres a day.
Hold on, miss. 2055? We'll be grown-ups by then. We're not having that, are we? No. Get water cans and fix those drips and drops. And take shorter showers, yeah? Because when we work together, it all adds up. So come on, you lot, search Let's Save Water.
Call Tom Swarbrick 0345 6060 973 LBC.
40 million people listen to commercial radio each week. That's 80 million ears, give or take. Amplify your advertising at radiocentre.org.
How does a $20 golf gadget end up being used as a bomb detector in war zones worldwide? I'm Alice Levine, and this is Explosive Lies, the podcast exposing a scam that fooled governments and security services across the globe. Open our free Global Player app and search Explosive Lies to start listening today.
From Goldbank, London. A safe and sound way to buy and sell gold.
For buyers, you can buy from a wide range of gold and silver bars, coins, and themed collections to suit your budget.
For sellers, you can get an instant valuation online and sell your goods easily, conveniently, and securely.
Easy to buy.
Easy to sell.
Start your journey in gold today.
Visit goldbank.co.uk.
Shine Night Walk London is a 10k, half marathon or full marathon supported walk around the city at night on the 19th of September to raise vital money for Cancer Research UK. It's also
everyone walking with all their colours, twinkling away. We can actually see how nice London is, and London is different at night time. Celebration of life, and it gives hope.
Step towards a brighter future at shinewalk.org today to get 30% off your entry. Together, we are beating cancer. T's and C's apply.
When you're smiling, the
for our price match promise. Keep on smiling.
Keep on smiling. Keep on smiling. And the whole world smiles with you.
banningdental.co.uk.
Hi, Nan. We're having a brilliant time. We went to a theme park and the rides were awesome. We got money off the entry tickets, so Dad even bought us all an ice cream with a flake. Probably not the best idea before going on a roller coaster. Oh, Sammy went green after. See you when we get home. Love, Leo.
Enjoy great British summer savings, such as discounted entry to theme parks, soft play, and more. Funded by the UK government.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC. Listen on your smart speaker. Just say, play LBC.
After the news at 5, we'll talk a little bit about how much you think GCSE results should matter. I'm conscious that we're obviously doing that on GCSE results day, and if your results are very good, they matter a great deal. Congratulations. If they're not very good, they don't matter at all, so don't worry about it. It's like a difficult line to tread that. When it comes to the requirement of pretty much most jobs, if you want to be a nurse in the NHS, if you want to be a childcare assistant, you will need to have a 4 or a C in maths and English. If you don't have that, you will need to resit those papers until you do. Is that wise? Is that the right thing to do? Does that mean that you are on, as the education describes, a treadmill of resits? Would it be lowering the standards too much to say that you don't need to have a 4 and you just get what you get? 03456060973, the number. Talk about that in a bit. Ben's in Doncaster first. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Tom. Nice to speak to you.
And you, my friend. What do you think?
I don't know if it'll work. I think it'll be a waste of time. What I'd like to just draw a comparison with something that's nowhere near as serious, but a similar initiative that didn't really work. So when there was an issue in UK waterways, like on canals, rivers, and also commercial fisheries with Eastern Europeans poaching, catching to eat, and at the time it was said that it was a cultural issue. They didn't know, they just need to be educated. So at a great extent there was a lot of signs put up all over rivers and canals and waterways in 5 or 6 different languages saying that we catch and release. This isn't just free game to come catch and bag them up and eat them. And everyone said that'll combat it, and it made absolutely no difference at all. They knew they shouldn't be doing it in the first place, and just carried on. And it was done by, I think it was knocking on for $1 million each year from the sort of, certainly the last 10 years, and it's still just as much as an issue as it's always been. Like I say, I know this is nowhere near as big an issue and as serious, but it's just a comparable sort of an issue.
And it comes to this issue of integration fundamentally, doesn't it? I mean, if you choose to ignore the law, you're going to be punished, hopefully, for choosing to ignore it, so that's sort of on you. If you didn't know, how best does any government go about explaining, well, these are the rules, these are the laws, this is our moral code from which those laws are created, and this is the thing you need to abide by to get on in this country. How you go about doing that is really, really important. I would argue it is completely critical when it comes to attitudes towards women and girls and sex from men.
Yeah, totally. But I don't think a leaflet's the way to do it. I think it's too
well, leaflet's not going to be enough, is it? I mean, a leaflet's not going to do the job if you genuinely don't have a clue and you've been brought up in a culture that, in effect, or a mindset in effect that says our moral code is
tried to break check me.
In the same way that
what a nice
is not deemed enough sex education for children here.
No. But I think there needs to be. I mean, I often have this when Sheila has a lot of topics about, women's lib and the effects of men and their views and how they act. And then she'll get a string of men ringing in and being really aggressive with her and talking over her and not giving her a chat. And that's a great example. I would wager that they don't. As far as I've seen, I've listened to LBC for many years, they don't seem to do the same with Nick, with you, with James. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that in itself is a real nice example, this little sort of... and I think it is an issue, but it's a broader issue than a leaflet's ever going to be able to scratch. But in terms of the men of fighting age issue, you're not going to... The only way you could do it would be with complete,
We don't know who... the government doesn't know in some cases, doesn't know who these people are, doesn't know where really they've come from. In some cases, don't know even how old they are. And then the hardest thing to know is what they think. What do they think about issues that might have them butt up against the law or against the police or whatever?
But I think if you create a leaflet like this, it's targeted. It's going to be seen as being targeted for a reason. So you're not going to create it unless there's an issue. But people are going to grab onto this and see that it's indicative of a bigger issue and a wider issue, when it might not be quite as big as having a leaflet, especially a bespoke leaflet, specially made for this, would suggest. Do you know what I mean? So people are going to climb all over this and say, my God, if all of them need this leaflet just to understand that you don't rape women, that's then going to conversely make people who are that way, you know...
Yes, it probably is. Yes.
Yeah, he's just going to fan the flames, and I just don't know.
It is. But the government have clearly deemed it, not a requirement, but something that might be needed, which I guess is a requirement.
Yeah, definitely.
And that says something, doesn't it? I mean, that cannot be anything other than pretty concerning, really. Okay, so what is the difference between a pamphlet being handed to an adult, let's say they're an adult, a pamphlet being handed to an adult saying you can't have sex with children, and a 7-year-old child being told the age of consent is 16, consent is absolutely critical? What is the fundamental difference between those two things? Because we do have sex education in this country.
Yeah, I think the difference is that there's a possibility that pamphlet will, in terms of the message it's trying to convey, that pamphlet might be in isolation in that one person's life in terms of the message it's putting across. A 7-year-old, it will be put across as part of a system of learning that encompasses so many other different things.
Completely right, because it's cultural. Ben, thank you very much indeed. Sus is in Manchester. Hi, Sus.
Hi there, Tom. Hope you're doing well, my mate. I just want to say about these pamphlets, I think it's absolutely disgraceful and a massive problem, a huge problem. I don't know any country that prints a pamphlet and tells you not to rape women and children. This is like a given. Even in those tribal areas, they know what a woman is. They know perfectly well. It's a ploy, in my opinion. It is, I don't know if I'm correct, to further stay here, to work, to live in the prison system. They don't mind. The prison system's
What do you mean it's a ploy? So what do you mean, ploy?
A lot of them, but they know they have to go back and go get a state or go out and commit a rape. What we're going to do, we're going to put them in a prison. What they're going to get in the prison, colour TV, bed, drugs, whatever they want. They're going to be happy. They have a roof over their head. They live in England.
Well, maybe.
A lot of them do that purposely for that very reason.
Well, okay, so to answer this is from Dan, just quickly. Yeah. Dan says, regardless of pamphlet, Dan says, why just asylum seekers?
Because it's a given to the British public. We've grown up with some morals, man. We know what women is.
British people, unfortunately, British men commit rape, sexual violence, child abuse.
Does. Unfortunately, you get a minority of idiots, cycles and weirdos, don't we, everywhere? Okay? But we don't need to give them a leaflet because they're educated enough to know in the first place. What the issue is these guys, we're giving out leaflets because we have a problem. We have to say, we're admitting, saying, by the way, you guys from this country, we know you like doing that over there. By the way, can you just read our leaflet? That's if you can read at all. I mean, what language is this leaflet in?
Well, it's why, Suze, we don't just hand kids a pamphlet and tell them there's a pamphlet, read that, right, on you go. There's a whole programme of sex education, absolutely rightly, to embed the moral and the legal and the cultural into children from a young age around this issue. Now, some people choose to ignore it, and it's terrible, and they're punished for it, but just handing over a pamphlet isn't going to do it. Appreciate the call. Thank you very much indeed. You're listening to Tom Swarbrick on LBC. In the next 60 minutes...
It gives a sense that the country isn't working as it should, that things aren't being fixed.
3 of the country's worst illegal dumps are due to be cleaned up using taxpayers' money, the government has announced. Where are they? We'll bring you the details.
If they continue with their high-profile media, then keeping them safe raises the pressure quite considerably.
The Prince and his Duchess Meghan will come back to the UK next month, we're told, with questions about the level of security they will be afforded, possibly by the taxpayer. Do you mind if you pay for it? And
Results Day isn't the final destination, it's just a stepping stone on their journey.
As students collect their GCSE results today, the Education Secretary vows to end what she calls the treadmill of resits. Should you have to have a grade 4 or a C in English and maths in order to be able to get a decent job? Have you been stopped by a barrier of resits?
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 5 o'clock, Andy Burnham brushed off a question about whether the government will pay for security for Prince Harry and Meghan when they move back to the UK, saying it's a private matter. They're going to set up home in a non-royal residence outside London later this month. They've already enrolled 7-year-old Archie and 5-year-old Lilibet in British schools. The Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Emma Reynolds, has told LBC she wishes them well.
I have also got 2 primary school-aged children who will be going back to school in a couple of weeks, but obviously the security of the Sussex is something that is independently assessed.
A 49-year-old man's been charged over last October's Manchester synagogue attack in which 2 worshippers died. Hekmat Omar Ali Hakim from Higher Broughton in Salford is accused of failing to disclose information regarding terrorist activity. A cabinet minister says the decision to issue a behaviour booklet to asylum seekers is so people are clear about UK law. The Home Office guidance warns people that rape and domestic abuse are serious crimes and gives guidance about gender equality. Social integration commentator Dr. Rakib Ehsan has told LBC he feels the booklet signals a wider problem.
I think that what it really shows is that we have a truly dysfunctional asylum system, and our lax border security poses a fundamental threat, especially to the public safety of female citizens.
An academic who accused Professor Jason Arday of plagiarism before his death last week has been suspended from his job. Ghent University has confirmed it's taken action against Nathan Kofnas following recent public statements, adding that it opposes discrimination, hatred and racism. Fines for people caught fly tipping in England would rise from £300 to £5,000 under new plans. The Prime Minister's also announced clean-ups of 3 huge mounds in Kent, Surrey and West Yorkshire. But James Peel, a councillor in Ranskill, North Nottinghamshire, wants action there too.
Any contribution towards making these things stop is good, but I've got to say I was shocked, amazed, disappointed that a site of this magnitude is not one of the 3 that's going to get cleaned up immediately.
Former Lib Dem leader Tim Farron says the National Crime Agency should take over investigating illegal waste sites. In the city, the FTSE 100 has closed up 5 points at 10,748. The pound buys $1.36 and €1.17. LBC weather, showers will mostly fade overnight. It'll feel cooler, lows of 9 to 16 degrees. Tomorrow, showers less widespread, although some thundery rain is still possible, especially in western and southern Britain. Highs of 13 to 21 Celsius. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Matt Hewitt.
This is LBC. From Global, leading Britain's conversation with Tom Swarbrick.
Very good afternoon to you. 4 minutes past 5 the time. Tom Swarbrick here on LBC this Thursday afternoon. This hour,
I am very happy about this. I'm really happy too.
Yeah, well, I thought I would do a bit worse. I don't know how I got 9 in physics, so yeah, pretty happy.
It feels amazing. Good to know all the hard work I put in has paid off.
right, first off this hour, indulge me if you would. Can I just say, massive congratulations to my nephew Tom, who completely nailed his GCSEs to date. You know, absolutely smashed it out of the park. Bright young man, got the grades to go on and do whatever he wants and work really hard for it. So congratulations, Tom. And if you are celebrating in your house, many congratulations to you as well. You could not pay me to go back and do GCSEs again. There are far too many of them. Which would add even more annoyance if I had to resit any, particularly maths, which I hated. At the moment, most jobs require a 4, old money, a C, in maths and English. If you want to be a nurse, you need a 4 in those subjects. If you want to be a childcare assistant, you need a 4 in those subjects. A woman we knew who failed her GCSE maths years and years ago applied to be a childcare assistant, wanted to do it part-time. The childcare place really needed someone. She couldn't do it until she'd got a resit in her GCSE maths up to a standard. She did the reset and she didn't get it, so she didn't get the job. Does that need to change? Should it really be the case that we're stopping people, adults, in some cases, from getting that kind of work because they got a 4 rather than a 5 in a GCSE taken many, many moons ago? The Education Secretary, Lucy Powell, doesn't think so.
What's been happening over many years now is that only 1 in 5 of those young people who resit English and maths are actually passing them on those further resits, and for some, they're doing it many times over. So we're branding them a failure after failure after failure. It's knocking their confidence. It's not giving them the passport that they need to go on to do something like an apprenticeship.
200,000 teenagers in England will fail to achieve a grade of at least 4 in both core subjects. Most, as you heard, do not pass on their second or subsequent attempts. Now, that locks you out of quite a few jobs. Do we need to do that when we have youth unemployment at 16%, when we have lots of people desperate for work, trying to apply for the jobs that are available? Do we need to lock out of those jobs people who don't have a 4 or above in GCSE English and Maths? And have you found yourself locked out of those? When you had to resit those subjects, was it the same pain all over again? Robbie Maris is a research fellow at University College London, specialising in the economics of education. One of the authors of the study. Thank you very much, Steve, for coming on. Is it a conveyor belt of resits? And to what extent should it stop, Robbie? Hi.
Yeah, hi, Tom. Nice to meet you. So we've put out some recent research that shows that students who are forced to do these English and Maths resits are taking a hit to their well-being. So they are kind of experiencing this cycle of failure. They're feeling less optimistic about the future. They're not feeling very confident in their English and Maths ability. And there is clearly a problem with the way that the policy is currently being delivered. I don't think that means we should stop encouraging students to keep studying English and Maths at between 16 and 18. I think we know that English and Maths, literacy and numeracy skills are critical for life outcomes, for participating in the workplace, all those kind of things. So I think it's important that we keep studying. But yeah, there is a bigger question around this locking students out of jobs and locking students out of further qualifications. Because we know that 1 in 5, like you mentioned just before, 1 in 5 pass their GCSE resits. So you've got 4 in 5 who don't, and they're going to be locked out of a lot of different opportunities. So I think that does need a lot of attention.
And so to that extent, Robbie, I guess the question is, to what extent should GCSEs really matter when it comes to either your future education or work?
I think I still think they should matter, and they're obviously important qualifications. They've been around for a long time. They convey a level of ability and skill in certain subjects. But I think when you're thinking about 10 years later and you still need a GCSE English and Maths, I think that's where we might need to think about relaxing some of the requirements, or thinking about alternatives that people can do or use to show that they have these literacy and numeracy skills. And we've got alternatives as well to GCSEs, but they tend not to be as common, and they aren't often accepted as much as GCSEs are. So I think there does need to be a conversation.
Yeah. I don't know what the definitions would be, so apologies if this comes across as a little rude, and I hope it's not meant to. Would someone be considered either illiterate or enumerate or both if they don't get above a 4 in GCSE English and Maths?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's on a scale, so you can go from a 0 to a 9. And students who get a grade 3, for example, just below that threshold, they still have a lot of the key skills, but they may be missing out on a few elements. Maybe they've missed out on a particular area of their GCSE Maths, for example. They struggle with algebra or geometry. So it's not that they're illiterate or enumerate either. I'd say if you're getting a 0, that might be where you're getting extremely low levels of literacy and numeracy. But it's not that a grade 3 means you're illiterate or enumerate.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much, Steve, for coming on. Robbie Maris is a research fellow at University College London, specialising in the economics of education. Gronya Hallahan is the head of community at Teacher Tap, a daily survey of teachers. Thank you very much, Steve, for coming on, Gronya. What does this say about the teaching, unfortunately, if students get a 4 or below in English and Maths?
Yes, that's really interesting. We're talking about the likelihood of passing when you take the resits, and something that we're not really talking about is the quality of teaching these kids who take the resits get. So when you're at school, you're in year 11, you're doing English and Maths regularly, you've got the same teacher, you've got a better chance of passing it. When you take that resit, you're often studying for other qualifications, or you're out at work, or you're doing like sort of part studying, part working type, and then you get a little bit of teaching for your research. You get a time, it's an add-on. You don't have this high quality teaching. So, you didn't get it after 2 years of GCSE study in school. No wonder we've got so few kids passing when they come to do the research. So
if I'd failed my maths, a little bit close, but if I'd failed my maths GCSE, but I go to college, or I go into sixth form or whatever, I then have to basically self-teach or use some resources somewhere, but there's no teacher at the school or the further education college who's going to sit down with me and go, right, you messed up your GCSE first time around, here's how we can do it better.
We can put your postcode into a lottery, and what you get varies where you are, and also what sort of income your parents have, and what sort of relationships they have with teachers in their own community. You know, when I was teaching English, I've taught BSITs. It's a really tough thing to teach. You're teaching students who feel like they have failed, and it's really difficult to overcome that barrier they've built up around education and how they feel about themselves and how they feel about their own success. And if you have lots of time with that student and you can work with them and unpick where it went wrong before, that's great. And I'm sure the well-being of those sorts of students, they actually feel better about themselves. But if you are self-taught, left to your own devices, up to your parents to pay for extra tuition, you're doing a course, and not all students do the same exam board again. That's another one. Yes, exam boards, aren't there?
Sick thing about AQA and Excel.
Yeah, so you're used to the way that AQA does their English questions. Now you've got to do an Excel. They're very, very different. It's tricky. It's hard for the kids to do it again. So not only do some not pass the second time, they actually do worse on the reset than they did originally. And what is the way around this? There are other qualifications. Your previous caller mentioned it. He was talking about the functional skills, which is available to some students. If they do really poorly in their GCSEs, they're allowed to take those qualifications, and they're much more like real life based type questions, and they're considered much more accessible. I used to mark the English GCSE, and I was thinking about what you said about, you know, does that make somebody illiterate if they don't get a grade 4? And when I think about the sort of papers that I would mark, I could see they were going to fail because of the marks they were getting. It wasn't that they were illiterate, it was more that they weren't able to access those texts. They could not read a challenging text and unpick the meaning behind it. That doesn't mean that they're illiterate.
No, far be it to dumb down, Gronya, but the standards should be high. But in a sense, maybe this is a reflection of the fact that standards are already pretty high, in that getting a C or getting less than a C or a 4 does not mean that you cannot work, that you can't read, that you are illiterate. It's just you've fallen below a particular standard that is expected. And actually, whether or not we say, well, because you can read and you are able to function and you can do this, it's just you can't access this particular difficult text, we're of course going to consider you for a job.
Yeah, would I want that person teaching my child English if they couldn't pass English GCSE? No. Would I be happy for them to take care of my 2-year-old, 3-year-old?
Exactly.
Absolutely. There should be a way to reward the skills of what they can do that is not GCSE, that is recognised by employers, that unlocks doors to courses and is something achievable and hard for them to aim for, but isn't the GCSE. It feels like there is a gap there in the qualification.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Gronya Hallahan is Head of Community at Teacher Tap, a daily survey of teachers. And actually that would be very interesting. Well, I think it would. You can be the judge, actually. To hear from teachers on results day, or maybe you're actually at the pub because you're celebrating or commiserating your charge's results. So you have a student who's clearly struggling with the maths. They can't do the algebra. They're never going to learn Pythagoras' theorem. They're really struggling. They get a 3. Does that mean they should have to do it again? Or do you think, but they tried and it's not their strong suit, but they've got other good qualities that they might be really good at? I don't know, they're not going to be great at physics, but they might be really good at geography or history or something. Should it rule them out of being able to get a job until they get that elusive C or 4 grade? 0345 6060 973. The exam question: to what extent should GCSEs matter? You may turn over the page and begin. 5:15 headlines. Matt Hewitt.
Questions are being asked about how Prince Harry and his family will be kept safe and who will pay for it when they return to the UK. An Iraqi man's been charged in connection with last October's terror attack at a synagogue in Manchester. And girls continue to outperform boys at GCSEs, but the gap is narrowing. LBC weather: showers fading overnight and feeling cooler, lows of 9 degrees.
LBC travel, I'm J. Louise Knight. And if you're heading out of town approaching the M4, expect delays on the elevated section. A van has broken down around junction 2 for Brentford. It means only one lane is running, so there are delays back onto the A4. There are queues out of town on the A12 A27 towards an accident before the halfway house at West Horndon. An earlier accident in Bermondsey's left queues on Tower Bridge Road near the Bricklayers Arms, but all lanes are open again. On the trains, due to the earlier investigation at Potter's Bar, routes from King's Cross and Finsbury Park to Stevenage have delays of up to half an hour. There's no Windrush line from Surrey Quays to New Cross, and severe delays for the Mildmay line from Wilston Junction to Richmond. And on the Tube, the Piccadilly line is suspended from Cockfosters to Uxbridge.
This is LBC.
5 across, full of positive swagger. Sorry, at HMRC we can't help you fill gaps in a crossword. But our new website can fill gaps in your pension and tax knowledge. Nothing cryptic, just simple explanations about the basics to help you get tax confident and understand how tax works in retirement. To learn more, search HMRC Tax Confident. Oh, that's it. Confident.
Call Tom Swarbrick 0345 6060 973 LBC.
Whatever the weather, you'll be bringing the sunshine home with the Wren Summer Sale. Visit your local Wren showroom and get up to 60% of our high-quality, fully built kitchen units and up to 7 years interest-free credit. Plus, right now, you can get an AG dishwasher for just £149. Made for bringing a little sunshine to your kitchen this summer. Wren, made for living. Offers apply when you buy 5 or more kitchen units. Dishwasher offer ends 2nd of September. 1 per customer. Finance subject to status and minimum spend.
Bag yourself the season's latest model with amazing deals at Currys, like the brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 8 from just $36.99 a month on a 24-month term, increasing to just $38.79 from April 2027 and $40.59 from April 2028. And get 100 gigabytes of ID network data. Woohoo! When you pay £79 up front. Now with free delivery in-store at Currys or online at carphonewarehouse.com. Free delivery subject to availability. Energy rating A, subject to credit check network. T's and C's apply.
Big news for little ones. The Tesco Fred and Flo baby range has a fresh new look. And to celebrate, Club Card members can get 4 for 3 on Fred and Flo products at Club Card prices. Sound good? We'll take that as a yes. Plus, we've made quality improvements right across the range, from delicate on-skin nappies and wipes to baby food and more. Tesco Fred and Flo. A little help for life's big adventure. Exclusions apply. And 7th of September, Club Card app required. Delivery charges may apply.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
5:18 the time. Jack is a first-time caller in Greenwich on the exam question we are posing this hour of to what extent GCSEs should matter. Jack, hi.
Hi there. Within reason, I don't think they really do matter. I employ a lot of people that are not academic. I'm in a trades business, and I think we're crushing kids before they've even got to the workplace, really.
Yeah.
I come out of school, I got a D in English and E in maths. I run a £7 million plus company, and I just feel that you just are crushing kids before they've even started.
Did you do the retakes?
No.
You binned it off?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Tea break time.
I just feel like you have to move forward in life. If you're not academic, you do the best you can in school, but sometimes you just have to move on, and we're in a new world that's developing with AI, and a lot of the questions that you're getting a maths or an English exam are literally at the tip of your fingers.
Do you think, had you wanted to go into, a different area of work, you'd wanted to be a nurse, you'd wanted to be a childcare assistant, we really need people to do those jobs, and you didn't have those qualifications, you didn't have the C, should you be prevented from getting those jobs?
Absolutely not. I could understand, like, nurses, doctors, but I think a lot is down to people's spirit and their ability to work hard, to take on new information. Such stuff as algebra is not going to be used every 5 minutes.
I do agree, and I know that's sort of the Luddite view of the world, which is, well, I didn't need to use it in my life, so it's clearly unnecessary for everybody else. I'm sure lots of you listening use algebra regularly, yada, 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 but you're clearly quite good at it if you're using it regularly. Why aren't we teaching more about the kind of things that would be useful, like how to run a business, the numbers involved in an interest rate, that kind of thing?
maybe to keep poor people poor.
Well, it's not worked for you, Jack. On you go, son.
For me, but like I've also put a lot of other education sort of into myself after leaving school, because people are not going to teach you if you sort of double down on a subject and you just teach yourself that subject, and you can become an absolute master of that subject. People will basically pay you for the service.
Quite. And it's not very good. Clearly the service isn't, the service for resits isn't very good. Jack, thank you very much indeed. Great first-time call. Get this on 84850. Tom, my 18-year-old has been forced to take her maths and English GCSE 9 times. She suffers with dyslexia and just doesn't get it yet, but she still has to do it all. She's thriving at college, but they insist on her doing GCSE until she, quotes, passes. What does that do for any sense of self-worth? If you're thriving at college, if you're doing fine, you're doing okay, the rest of your subjects are great. Do we need to have it at that higher level? 0345 6060 973. The secondary exam question, once you've completed this one. There's a piece in the Mirror today. Only half of UK adults, can correctly answer 3 basic GCSE level maths questions. Would you like one of the questions? Do that in a minute. Zoe's in Worcester. Zoe.
Hi, Tom.
Hello,
Loving your
Zoe.
work.
Oh,
and your moonlighting in the morning.
Oh, now come on. Not moonlighting. Yeah, well.
I wanted to just give my point of view, because I'm a parent of a 17-year-old who got a 3 in his GCSEs at school. Started a college course, had to do resits, and he's just got a 1. And it's terrible. He's really disheartened.
Oh, poor lad. That's an absolute nightmare. And a 1 means what? A 1 is...
If he continues with college, which he wants to do, he's going to have to continue with the resits until he's 18.
What subjects is he doing at college?
He's doing videography, film production, photography.
So he's doing creative
media.
Yeah,
which he really thrives in. I just need to move the car because I'm going to be locked in a car park. Just one second.
Oh, my life. Zoe, get out of the car park. Always get out of the car park. They are so on it, these car park people these days.
They are.
They're like,
they
honestly.
go home so early. Right, I'm parked again. I just wanted to say as well,
well, that was quick.
We employed 2 apprentices, and one of them had worked for us for 5 years, in his early 20s, qualified bricklayer, and we wanted to put him on an apprenticeship to do stonemasonry. And the college required him to do a maths resit before they would let us put him on his apprenticeship.
I just think this is unnecessary. Who decided it was a level 4? Why can't it be a level 3?
I know. He can do the job, He's a qualified bricklayer. He's in his early 20s. We've employed him for 5 years.
He's really good.
Yeah. It should be up to us, surely, as the employer.
Well, I think that's right. I mean, the NHS might be a different kettle of fish. I mean, there will be employers who say you need to have a certain standard. There are plenty of employers who say, for instance, you need to have a 2-1 degree in order to be able to apply for this, that and the other, and maybe that's warranted. Mm-hmm. But so I guess what we're saying is there are certain jobs that do not warrant the requirement of a GCSE 4 in maths and English.
Absolutely.
So I think you're right. Mind how you go in the car parks of Worcester.
Thank you, Tom. Keep up the good work.
Take care, Zoe. Lovely to hear from you. 0345 6060 973. Here is the GCSE question, the maths question that most 16-year-olds get wrong. Half of the UK adults also get wrong. You ready? I'm not even sure I can read this right. This is from an AQA exam paper. The question is this. A bag contains 72 blue beads and some red beads. There are 4 blue beads for every 5 red beads. Work out the number of red beads. A bag contains 72 blue beads and some red beads. There are 4 blue beads for every 5 red beads. Work out the number of red beads. 0345 6060 973. Emma's in Lincoln. Emma.
Hello. I just wanted to come on because I'm a millennial. I've got 12 GCSEs, 5 A-levels and a degree, but don't have a GCSE maths. I was really bad at maths at school, and I knew that if I was to probably reset like your previous caller, I probably would have got a worse mark. I think I was quite lucky in, the path that I've taken for my career, and also a bit of luck on the side as well. And I think nowadays there isn't that much luck. People, because there's so many students as well, that you have to try and get as much behind you as possible. But I think if you go into careers, it's who you know as well.
How's it going? All good?
The work ethic that I've put in. For me,
it's night time, so
I think that's paid off rather than what
terrible,
I have on a piece
really.
of paper.
How many times did you attempt
I have
to
0
reset?
drop frames, so that's got to be good, surely.
I took my GCSE maths early in year 10, and I think that's because they knew that I wasn't that great at maths. And then when it got to year 11, I think it was called a freestanding maths qualification, where you could choose. I did finance and statistics. So I got a D in my GCSE maths, but in finance I got an A, in statistics I got a C. So
I'll have to look into that.
I know, it just shows you the type of maths, and my brain doesn't work in traditional maths, but finance, it works a lot better.
But you might have been prevented from getting a job in that region
because I didn't have
because you didn't have maths, even though your statistics was off the chart.
Yeah,
the resolution, I think what you're talking about might be to do with the head tracking.
But does that indicate a dumbing down? There will be plenty of people who say this is dumbing down.
I don't
know.
How do you mean dumbing down?
Well, we are
sounds like
a country that we have an educated workforce, and we want to keep it that way. And English and maths are sort of basics; they're core subjects, and we need them to be as high as they possibly can be in order for people to earn what they would like to earn, the sums that they want to earn, because they're highly qualified.
But then you can say, for me, my brain works in a different way to somebody who does maths well. But as I've got older, my maths has got better, but it was not at the level as when I was 16. So it's just that time to mature as well. But I'm 37 now, and I don't particularly want to take a GCSE maths paper. The questions that you read out, I ain't got a clue.
I'm having to write the numbers down. Seeing it in words, I'm going to have to write these numbers down. I'm going to have to think about it in the break, because I don't really want... I'd like to think that I could do a GCSE maths. I was terrible at maths. I did intermediate tier maths, Emma. I'm going to shock everyone here with I did intermediate tier maths, where the highest mark I could get was a B. Because I was rubbish at it. Absolutely terrible.
You did better than me. So.
Okay.
Just scraped through. Emma, thank you very much indeed for the call. 5:28 the time. Let's get a business update. Ben Kumar is here from 7 Investment Management with more Trump tough talk.
Yes, it's amazing how much...
There we are. Yes, I am, yeah. Okay, let's have another look at that. No, because I'm recording in the resolution that I'm actually playing at. Well, not recording, streaming in the resolution I'm playing at 5120 by 1440. So perhaps it's the fact that it's being watched on 1080. But I don't know. I'm going to look into it.
Keep left.
Oh, good. I have a clown.
left.
Let's have a little potch with this now. Move that out of the way. Okay. So perhaps if I take that down to there and then give that a whiz bang. I'm assuming that might be a bit better. Perhaps it needs to go down more.
Keep left.
Alright, sweet. I think that I might be streaming in the right res. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I'm just going to quickly jump on that now. I'm going to check that. Let's have a little potch in here. Jump in settings. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I will have a potch at that another time because I can't access any of the settings while I'm actually streaming. I will check it. Thank you for the feedback, really much appreciated. I am using OBS Studio, and every time I go to the stream settings, everything's greyed out while I'm streaming. I guess it's a learning curve. At night it does look a bit worse than during the day. That's cool, thank you for your help, man. It's good to have some feedback, I really do appreciate it, because otherwise I'm left just watching the stream and then trying to figure out what's going wrong along the way. lanes, traffic's backing up. That's going to bite me right on the... yep.
Keep right.
Cool, I'll work on that now. Oh, the mic is as loud as it gets. Okay, so okay, I will work on that side of things after.
Keep right.
Okay, so 8 hours of driving. I bet I've got about 4 hours left. Oh no, 8 hours left. Alright, I might actually pull this off in one go here without another snooze. Yeah, I might. Depends how much traffic I hit. No, it's 8 hours in game. It ticks by quite quick. If I leave the other user interface up, you can see it's 4:02 AM, 4:03 AM. It goes by quite quickly. I'm not sure on exactly what the formula is to work it out, but it does go through quite quickly. It's more a case of traffic and speed limits, because I'm not going to get lucky and get the 56 all the way. That's wishful thinking. But I am going for the more longer jobs where I can. Yesterday was 2077. Today's a bit longer, but I didn't have a lot to choose from. There we go. Oh, Christ. That'll teach me for looking at the chat while I'm driving along. I do need to work on the placement of that monitor though. Is the quality any better as the light's getting brighter in game? Really?
Keep right.
Oh yeah, oops, that was right. My bad. No, that was the wrong right. Silly twat. Oh well. I meant to res, I said the wrong word. Perhaps... yeah, I don't know. I really don't know about that. I shall have to look into that a bit more.
At the roundabout, take the first exit. Keep right. Exit now.
The game quality I've had to actually turn down because I wasn't sure if I'd be able to keep up ultra settings with 600% scaling. I hate to say it, but recently I've had to turn some settings down. I know, shocking. It's the one thing that I vowed I didn't want to end up doing. But then again, my stuff is getting on a bit in age. It's not as new as it was. I think it's with the fact that I'm streaming native res. It's a lot more work, I think, than just playing in native res. It does seem to be, because if I switch to ultra settings, sorry, in native resolution, I'll end up having quite large frame drops when I'm using the head tracking, which from what I can gather online, it's just part of the head tracking. It does dip because of the fast movements with the head. But we can't all be super rich and run multiple graphics cards. Would be nice, but I don't think there's anyone left in the world that has the money to run multiple graphics cards, and if they do, well, good on them, and I'm super jealous of them. I'm not jealous of their electric bill though, that would be through the roof. This machine's bad enough with the fact that it drinks 600 watts along with the screens. Typical Tesla driver. Silly git. Come on, little Merc. I know you're really old. Mind you, the truck isn't actually in the game natively. It was a mod, I forget where I got it from. But I loved working on these. It doesn't do so well on the fuel economy. It drinks like a fish. And it only has a little tiny 600 litre tank. So I go through a stupid amount of fuel. How long have I got left? 5 hours and 5:28. Yeah, I'm gonna have to work on that, and I will have to see how I get on with it. Mind you, if I end up streaming at 1080p, it's going to look tiny on my screen. Screen capture, I think. Bear with, I shall check that now. Display capture. Yeah, I shall try game capture next time, see if that's any better. Next one will be on tomorrow anyway, so I don't think after today I'll have any more time left. It's amazing how quickly your day just runs away. Here we go. I know that the head is going to go a bit doolally now.
Caution. Please mind the speed limit.
Yep.
Get ready to turn right.
I'm ready.
Turn right.
Weird police car.
Caution. Please mind the speed limit.
I am minding the speed limit. Good lord.
Keep left.
Well, we know the rules. I'm not sure that it's... Yes, okay, I can see the levels on the audio now. I think I need to turn down the game volume and then it won't be drowning out the microphone volume so much. Oops. Focus.
Keep left. Get away with it. Depends how long that takes to go down to 2 hours. Oh. No, I won't get away with it. Oh well, be another rest stop.
as well take it now.
Never mind. I'll find a new route. Go straight on. Okay, let's find a new route.
Okay, let's find ourselves a car parking space. Brilliant. Just here it'll do.
At the roundabout, take the first exit. Exit now. At the roundabout, take the second exit. Exit now.
The home stretch.
Keep right, and then exit right. Exit right. Keep right, and then exit right. Exit right. Caution, please mind the speed limit. Caution, please mind the speed limit. At the roundabout, take the third exit. Keep right. Exit now. At the roundabout, take the first exit. Exit now. At the roundabout, take the second exit. Keep right. Exit now.
May as well stop off here.
Keep right, and then turn right.
Ooh, looking good. The detail in this is insane. I like it all. It looks good. Time to go park it.
Turn right.
Where are they gonna want it put? That's the question.
It's all over now.
Not yet, it's not. Oh, far end. Okay then. Far end it is. I think I'm too far up. I think I might be. Oh well. Hold on, I'm sure I can get a better angle from this camera. Yep. Definitely. Hey. That's fine, that's fine. It's alright if I make a meal out of it. Yep, I've screwed that up by coming in too tight. It's a bit wonky donkey, but if it goes green, it's good. There we go.